This is the GPL podcast from GopherPuckLive.com. This podcast is sponsored by Jerry Peters and First Class Mortgage. Our expertise, your peace of mind. Visit us at firstclassmortgage.com. Now, here's Jupe and Vigo. Good evening and welcome to the GPL podcast, episode number 216. Well, there he is, Mr. Vigo. We doubted him last podcast, but sure enough, the boys have made it to the Frozen Four.
Pretty amazing run this team has been on in the second half. You know, we've been well documented with our question marks. I feel like every time Bob goes in front of media right now, he goes, you know, all these people back in Minnesota, they were worried about us getting splits earlier in the year. And we were clearly concerned about all this talent coming back and not having the pieces quite fit right, but they're fitting right now.
Well, we both predicted that they would not make it to the Frozen Four. They would not make it out of the regional. For me, it was more of history. They had not gotten out of a regional outside the state of Minnesota in 20 years, since 2002. And, you know, we had been still seeing the Jekyll and Hyde Vigs. We looked at the Big Ten championship and we're like, oh boy, that was just kind of a downer. But this team, we'll just start off with, the UMass game. The UMass game, down 2-0, down 3-1, no panic, no worry, come back, tie it, win it in overtime. Something we have seen this year is comebacks, but it just seems like you and I know, especially me, there was just some doubt there.
Well, I think there's some doubt during the game as well. The way the game started, how physical UMass was against Minnesota, how they fell behind, and you wonder, are they going to start trying to go for home runs? Because that has been what has happened to them in big games for the last couple years. And every time that situation presented itself, Minnesota had a hard time rising to the challenge. But against UMass, they stuck to it. And I think a big reason for that is Ben Myers and Matthew Nyes play the kind of game you have to play to be successful in these tournament situations. And having guys like that they could lean on really paid off.
So let's kind of look at the game situation. We had interesting situation about a long goal review for UMass. I'm still not clear on how that was called a goal by defined as the rules. He was in the paint, he was in the way, yet the goal counted. Did we ever get any? I mean, they tried to clarify it, but I'm still not convinced that that was the right call.
It's always hard to know because sometimes these refs just make it up as they go. And I agree that I don't like the rule as it's written. Whereas if there's a player
on that, yes.
If there's a player who happens to be in the crease and he doesn't impact the play, then should be a good goal. I think that should be the rule. That's not quite how it reads, but there's also kind of that nuance to it that does that player impact the play? And apparently the refs decided he didn't. Good hockey goal. The UMass team gets another goal off a skate, which, I don't think it was a kicking
Mr.
motion.
Wade, by the way.
Mr. Wade, I don't think it was a kicking motion, but there was definitely a movement of the skate that redirected it into the net. So 2 tough breaks for Minnesota.
But
and you just kind of wonder. Yeah, you did just kind of wonder, is it going to be like that Michigan game where they get a couple bad breaks and then they just kind of fall into the cycle of feeling sorry for themselves and trying to create plays when they should just stick to their game plan, and they didn't. They did stick to their game plan, which is something we have not seen. And maybe that's the benefit of having an older roster that has been through these elimination games before and knows that you just can't do it on your own. You have to stick to what works. And we saw that throughout the night. And I was impressed that Minnesota stepped up to the physical play that UMass was handing out, and they met them right back with it.
Coach Motzko was definitely not happy with the third goal they gave up to get that another 2-goal lead. But like we've been saying, they stayed strong. They came back. They really shut down that physical team the whole second half of the game. Got within 1 goal. Nice. Gets the tying goal. And then, of course, we know Ben Myers in overtime. It just seemed to keep building, and they just kept shutting down. The defending national champions, yes, missing some players, but still, that experience counts. That was just a huge eye opener for me, Viggs. It was very satisfying.
It was kind of satisfying to see Minnesota come out on top in a game like that. And Hughlin has been a perfect fit. He has been a perfect fit on that line with Knives and Myers. He plays the same style. You watch them go from shift to shift and they win shifts. It's not always like they're trying to, hit the home runs. They know that they will wear down the opponents, and it's a lot of fun to watch.
I believe that we had seen Hughlin with Nyes and Myers at the end of the Michigan game. Not as noticeable because really that game was out of hand. The first roster comes out Friday afternoon, 2 hours before the game. Huglin's not with them. Don't know if that's a mistake, but
it was a mistake. It was a mistake. There's a little miscommunication happening between Bob and his staff. So they had been practicing that way the whole week with the lineup that we eventually saw.
But then when the change happened, I'm like, I really love that change. And, when the game-winning goal happened in overtime, it was kind of in between some shift change. I know, was it Nelson got down there when the puck got dumped, started causing issues. He hands it over to Hughlin. Hughlin busts his ass behind the net, keeping control of the puck, protecting the puck. You see Nelson standing on board. He's like, okay, this is a good time. I'm going to go off for a change. He does. Who comes on? Myers. He sees that Huglin's in a little trouble, kind of breaks up the whole play, giving the puck to Hughlin. Hughlin feeds him. And boy, that was just a overall blue-collar play, blue-collar goal to win the game.
And that's what's been missing. You saw the connection between the Nelson shift and the Myers line taking on the next shift. You need lines that can connect like that and can put pressure on your opponents. And it's just so key in these games to do that. It's going to be important for them as they go on. And I think it was important in the Western Michigan game, the same kind of philosophy of just keep the chain moving.
Well, they get the victory, of course, in overtime. What a fun game. But now here comes the big challenge. We've got Western Michigan, and I've got the score up on the screen there for people watching live. 3-0 win by the Gophers. Solid defensive game. They shut down Western Michigan really well. Another big, kind of imposing team that likes to impose their will on you. But it was more of the second half of that UMass game for the entire game against Western.
That game against Western is probably the most complete, intelligent hockey game I have seen the Gophers play maybe ever. There was really only one moment where you kind of got on edge and go, ooh, I don't think that was the right smart play. And that's when Western Michigan got the puck and got the rush. Player luckily goes offside, and it looked like Western tied it up there 1-1. That was probably the only moment of the game where I went, uh-oh. And it's because they got 3 forwards trapped below the dots, and they gave up speed coming the other way. Other than that, they played pretty much a flawless game. And we've been talking about what's percentage hockey. That game,
Yes.
it was perfect. And I think that game also was kind of a notice to all the national media how good Brock Faber is,
Hmm.
because Frank, leading goal scorer in the country, Western Michigan, NCHC top goal scorer, he was invisible the entire game. I don't know if he got any chances the entire night. And I think a big part of that's Brock Faber and just being physical, closing gaps, closing out plays really quickly, no odd man rushes. It was a tremendous performance.
Well, I was definitely satisfied with that game. Yeah, definitely the good team we wanted to see all these years showed up for regional away from the state of Minnesota, and like you said, for the first time in 20 years, they advanced Vigo. Um, I'm not sure what else to say about that game. I was a very happy situation for me.
Well, I think Justin Close was another player who rose to the occasion. He is such an intelligent goalie that he makes the right read almost all the time. Like, he knows where to go and where to challenge. He knows where to put his rebounds when he knows he can't freeze it. And he does a great job freezing the puck. You know, when I talked to Jack LaFontaine early in the year, he commented that, I don't like freezing the puck all the time. I want to keep play moving. Justin Close, he knows that there are times when it's good for the goalie to freeze the puck, and he can do it. And he really controlled that game against Western. I don't really think the whole weekend there was a lot of concern about Gopher goaltending. The goals that did get in were kind of these change up tip type situations where I think, being a little bit smaller goalie, if it's not a clear, clean shot, he's not big. It's hard for him to close up the net, and that read and react anticipation stuff kind of goes out the window on those. But I think all the shots that he saw, he did a great job on.
Quick question, or actually, we want to get your thoughts on this. Ice was terrible all weekend. I hated it for both teams. I thought it was a shame. I think that play when Western was offsides would not have been offsides if it was just some decent ice.
Yeah.
Um, and then I was, people on Twitter saying they're going back there in a couple of years. A couple other places have some terrible ice as well. I think it's a shame. I don't care who you're rooting for Western, Minnesota, whoever's playing, to play on that kind of crappy ice for an NCAA regional. It's embarrassing.
I don't know if it's embarrassing. I'm not going to quite
Good.
go that far, but I think it's a clear mistake. It's a mistake to have the biggest games of your season being played in front of these crowds. What did UMass do to earn that home ice advantage, basically? Gophers got last change, but UMass had the fan base there to keep them energized and respond to their physical play. And then the ice sheets. We saw it with the goals that were being reviewed. When the clock is out of sync and the green light's not in sync with the clock, and you have that mess with Notre Dame. That stuff just shouldn't be happening at this time of year. And I was listening to College Hockey News podcast talk about the regional, and Josh Fenton and Don Lucia were with Adam Wodon at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And Don goes, well, at least we're no longer on the front page for embarrassing video reviews.
That whole North Dakota Notre Dame thing was goofy. I have never seen clocks that far off before. And what threw me off as well is that, the overhead clearly showed a good second and a half that it was over.
Mm-hmm.
What still kind of threw me off a bit, what confused me, is that the horn still went after the clock that we all thought was synced. So the horn probably went 2 seconds after that. That's one thing that just kind of threw me off a bit, Vigs. I'm like, yeah, maybe people didn't hear the horn because of the excitement, but I'm thinking the horn would have gone off before the shot would have even happened. It was just a weird situation. Yes, the referees have to go by that clock, but something was fishy, Viggs. Something was downright fishy.
Well, there's the clock management of the guys, maybe, run the clock early or late or something to figure things out. I have no idea what happened. I buy the explanation that that's the official clock that they have to go to with the burned in thing, but it's just baffling that college hockey continues to have these situations in the biggest games at the end of the year. And it's because we have this ridiculous need to have these neutral sites that some coaches think is an advantage to them. I would much rather see them play in nice buildings or campus sites in front of good crowds than have this neutral site thing that some teams think helps them. It's just not right.
Well, I think just the thing with me, they came back and the announcers were saying that, yes, the TV clock is not the official clock. We know that. the The funny thing is that the TV clock is usually tied directly in to that clock, and I have personally never seen it that far off before. I mean, if it's off, it's like a tenth of a second. I mean, it's nothing. And it was just odd for me. It was frustrating. Luckily, Notre Dame did come back and took care of it. Got and won 3-1 in overtime, as someone said on GPL.
Right.
They won 3-1 in overtime, and they did eliminate North Dakota. Then they ended up facing Minnesota's opponent coming up, Minnesota State. It was kind of a black guy, but I did really laugh when Adam Modon tweeted out, how Don's standing right next to him. At least we're off the front page. I was rolling after that. Just rolling.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. I liked the format of the weekend, being able to watch every game. I thought that was great. Not having to worry about trying to flip back and forth. Some people were taking pot shots about the Gophers getting that extra day of rest. I don't know if you caught it in the post game, but somebody asked him, was like, "What are you going to do with that day of rest before the next game?" And Bob's like, "I got this one." It's like, I don't want the players to answer that question. But I thought it worked out great. We had great games.
I thought it was great. It left my Saturday a little thin. Saturday was usually the big day. Saturday was the 6-game day. And I kind of missed that, only having the what do we have? 4? No, we had only the 2 games.
2 games.
It's obviously the Thursday and Friday. We're super busy with 4 games each. I love that. I do like the new format. I do like giving teams a day off in between because, I always think of what happened to North Dakota last year. I'm not a North Dakota sympathizer, but they did have to play a game the night before, and Duluth didn't have to do anything because Michigan got kicked out due to COVID. And then they played 5 overtimes. I mean, if everyone remembers, the Gopher game that weekend in Loveland was supposed to be after North Dakota's game on that same network. Minnesota's game moved over to ESPN News. Minnesota's game stays on it because their game ends, and then I go back and that North Dakota game is still going. I do love the new format, and I think that some of the teams had a legitimate beef, just because it was weird how they put some number 1 seeds as the early game. They put some number 1 seeds as the late game. There just wasn't consistency there, and adding this day removes that.
Yeah. And I think it sets it up to maybe have like a super regional format sometime in the future. I know we've heard some coaches say that, even though they've set sites for the next couple of regionals for the next 4 years, there is a chance that they could change how it's going to be. And I would love to see an East super regional and a West super regional. I mean, how great would it be to have one NHL building have 6 games for you to go to over 4 days?
And they can handle the amount of teams. They're in bigger cities that can handle the hotels. And the ice is the best in the world.
Yeah, the ice would be good. So that would be nice.
We can keep dreaming, can't we, Vic?
We can. I mean, if we're not going to get campus sites for first round and things like that, That's my next dream is the super regional, because I think it would be good for coverage too. ESPN would just have to worry about 2 sites. Maybe they could have studio shows at the rinks and things like that. I think it would open up a lot of things that would be fun.
All right. Keep your mind on that. But now we need to hear from our sponsor, Jerry Peters at First Class Mortgage.
Hey, fellow GPLers, Jerry Peters here from First Class Mortgage. Have you refinanced your home in the last 12 months? If you haven't, chances are you should. Record low interest rates and skyrocketing home values make this the perfect time to remove monthly PMI while improving your interest rate at the same time. You can also use the equity in your home to finance those home improvement projects. Or you can consolidate high interest rate credit cards into one new low monthly payment. To hear more, call or text me today at 612-940-3291. You can email me at jerry@firstclasscorp.com, or you could go to firstclassmortgage.com to fill out a free online application. Mention the GPL podcast and receive a $300 closing cost credit. Some restrictions do apply. First Class Mortgage's NMLS number is 322842. Mine is 480200. This is not an agreement to lock into an interest rate under Minnesota law. First Class Mortgage is an equal housing lender.
Of course, we always thank Jerry for sponsoring the GPL podcast again this year. Vigs, you might have noticed we had a new intro theme on the podcast tonight. And if people haven't noticed, introduced kind of a new theme on gopherpucklive.com, cleaning things up. Not quite all the way there. The message board will get moved over in a few weeks, but we got new theme, kind of tweaked the logo a bit. Thought I would update the podcast graphics a little bit and some music, and it's an exciting time. I'm making changes here and there, and hopefully we'll get it completed in the next couple weeks. No, it wasn't fun for you when you were trying to log into the site earlier today, but we'll get through those and get through those headaches.
Just making the community even better. I'm blessed all the time for our GPL community. They do a pretty good job on the board. And
well, you were talking earlier. You wanted to make a change on the website, and it was a recruiting change that you noticed, which is why you wanted to get on to GPL and make an update.
Yeah, Nate Warner no longer listed as committed to Minnesota. I think that was something that people had kind of been expecting. He's been injury prone and had issues, finding a team to play with this year and all that. So when he took it off his social, that's when we would take him off the commit page for GPL. I hope something works out for him. Who knows? He's very connected to the Motzko family, which went through some interesting news this week as James Blue agreed to a plea deal for the car accident where he killed 2 young men.
Yep.
And
he didn't. They kind of got him off on the murder 3, but I think it was a great choice by both the Motzko and Schoeneman families. It's already been tough enough. Do you really need to go through a court case?
And
it's
nothing's going to bring back those 2 young men, and James Blue will have to live with what he did. And it's sad. It's really hard to stomach.
Well, Vigs, Frozen 4. I'm excited about this one. It's we got Denver and Michigan on one side of the bracket. We got Minnesota and Minnesota State renewing their rivalry after, frankly, the Mavs have dominated Minnesota recently, and they dominated them last year in the regional final. We'll get to that in a little bit. Michigan looked like they were going to cruise against and get straight to the final. They gave up a lot of goals, Vigs. I know they're an offensive team, but that was a little unlike Michigan against AIC and Quinnipiac. Something wasn't quite right, at least for me.
It's almost kind of I'm expecting from Michigan right now. They are not a very good structured team. Mm-hmm. I know in some of the matchups with Minnesota, they would give up double-digit odd man rushes one night, and then the next night, there are no odd man rushes. Mm-hmm. And it's not because of talent. It's not because of coaching. It's just they choose to play how they want to play sometimes.
They're
And,
young.
and and when they get up to those big leads, maybe they lose their focus. We saw that happen in the Big Ten title game as Minnesota kind of started to get things going there in the third period. They leaned on Portillo pretty heavy in games when they're ahead because they're not going to lock it down. So that makes the game against Denver really interesting because Denver is going to be able to score goals, and I think they have better team defense. So while Michigan has the talent and the ability to beat whoever, they also have the ability to give the other team plenty of opportunities to take a lead or to come back. So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be fun hockey to watch as the matinee game. So I'm really looking forward to it.
How many people are rooting against Michigan, though? I mean, I'm hearing it all over the place, Vigs. I'm not sure if it's more Michigan or if it's more Mel.
I think it's Mel right now. I think the way Mel's handled, all the COVID stuff and the emails and canceling games and just his attitude right now has rubbed people the wrong way. It's interesting. He's in the last year of his contract.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what's going to happen there? I don't believe anything that I'm hearing publicly that they want to do it this way. If it wasn't a place like Michigan, there would be some recruiting issues, but people don't really care who the coach is at a place like Michigan, I think. And I think Bill McCult would do a fine job if he took over the job there. But I think we might be seeing Mel's last weekend behind the Michigan bench.
I still can't believe it until it actually would happen, Biggs. Especially if they win a title. I don't know. We've just seen it so many times in so many other large schools, Vigs. I mean, not hockey as much, but you look at basketball. We've seen national champions, little slap on the wrist, no title lost. I mean, I'm even hearing, Kansas has got major issues. You think they're going to lose their title? Basketball is different, yes, but I just have this mentality. I just kind of need to see it first.
Well, Michigan does seem to hold themselves to the Michigan man standard, whatever that is. So I think it's a different ethics and morality at play there. And I don't think he'll get away with what he's gone through and how he's behaved through the whole ordeal. So it's going to be great hockey. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Yeah, I think Michigan is in great shape as a program overall. The top two recruiting classes in college hockey next year, Michigan and Minnesota. So I don't think this rivalry is going away anytime soon. And I think the Big Ten has some big pieces in play now.
And we got Ryan K. They'll just let the inquiry expire and bury the report, leave the investigation unfinished. I doubt that.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen, Jupe, is they're going to let it expire and they're just going to close the case with Mel. I think they'll just let it go.
And just get rid of them?
Non-renewed. Just like the St. Thomas Academy hockey coach got non-renewed this week. Trent Agner, I think, is who it was, and Mike Randolph might be the coach there now. Just let it go.
So his contract actually expires. I thought it was like people were saying that he shouldn't work on his final year, but this is
it.
Year.
This is it.
Oh.
I mean, when's the last time you had a coach who let their contract get to this point? Most coaches renew their right. Most coaches want their contracts renewed so it can't be used against them in recruiting or anything like that.
Yeah.
Bob just had his renewed earlier in the year. Lindsay Whalen just had hers. PJ Fleck gets extended, I think, every November. Tony Granato gets his renewed every year pretty much. And when coaches don't get their contract renewed, something's up.
Okay, Gator posted some odds here. Denver and Michigan. Over under 6.5. Denver plus 130, Michigan minus 160. What does that mean, Vigs?
It means if you had a bookie somewhere and you said, I want to bet $100 on Denver, and you gave them that $100, if Denver won, you would get back $230. So you get your $100 bet, and then you get plus 130. If instead you wanted to bet on Michigan and you wanted to win $100, you'd have to give your bookie $160. And then if they did win, you'd get $260 back. So that's what that means. And then the over under 6.5. That's pretty high for a hockey game.
It is, but there's two high scoring teams.
On two teams that don't play a ton of defense, at least on Michigan's end. So it's a scary over under for me, but I do like Denver in that game.
Like Denver, huh? Okay. That will make a lot of fans happy because I have some Mankato friends who hate Minnesota, but they even said if Minnesota beats Minnesota State Mankato and would end up playing Michigan, there is no way in hell they were going to root for Michigan, no matter what.
Yeah, I just have seen too many weaknesses out of Michigan.
Was saying
lately.
that.
Yeah,
Bruce Siskey, who hates the Gophers, said he would even root for Michigan.
I mean, I think Michigan got kind of lucky in their regional with who they played and how those games ended up. But I think they're going to get beat here by a Denver team that's battle tested. I mean, Denver shut out UMD, who plays a tight style, and Denver looked good in that game. And as much as I'm not sure about Bobby Brink and what he can bring, he's going to get chances to score against Michigan.
Yeah, he hasn't really shined like some of the other superstars in the tournament. I mean, you look at our little Mankato goalie down there, gets the shutout, looks good. Even Smith doing his thing, scoring that one goal against Notre Dame. Brink has been a little quiet lately.
He's a little quiet. He's
kind of quiet all year though, too.
Well, he's scored a lot of points. Brink's the leading scorer in the NCHC, and he's up in the Hobie hat trick here, right, with McKay and Myers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I know he can put up the points, and I know Denver's a great team, but when you watch a game with him playing, he doesn't flash to you. His skating, his size, his puck skills aren't there. It's his hockey IQ. And maybe a little bit of that can go away at times like this when you're playing the best of the best in these high pressure games where everybody's, systems heavy. So we'll see. I think Chris is right here. Wait, someone made a comment and now, yeah, this is the one I wanted to show. The more I think about it, the more I think Myers is Hobie. I kind of think he's got a really good chance. Because I don't know, McKay's got kind of that lifetime achievement award, but I don't know.
Richter been announced? It was announced by.
It'll be Friday. Friday's the announcement for Hobie and for the Richter Award winner.
Okay, because they didn't do that before. Richter they did before the Frozen Four started last year.
Right. So they're doing them both. So it'll be interesting. I think Myers has a really good chance.
Why? A lot of people will complain if that happens. Oh, he doesn't have the points.
He also is.
And honestly, it is more about the entire package. That he went to the Olympics, that he was successful. Yes, it wasn't college hockey, but he still did it.
And he plays a 200-foot game. It's not just points with him. We were talking earlier about Faber getting kind of passed over for some of the awards for USCHO and CHN. You need to watch him to really appreciate his game and how good he is. There's a reason why he goes to the Olympics and he's the number one defenseman. There's a reason Ben Myers goes to the Olympics and is counted on to be a big-time center. There's a reason 32 NHL teams want to sign this guy as soon as the Gopher season's over. He plays the game the right way, and it's not just points.
I don't know. I still think McKay's got a really good chance. I mean, he's the shutout leader. Didn't he just take the lead in victories, or he's tied with victories, something along those lines? I won't disagree with people when they say he's got a great defense in front of him. Yes, he's facing less shots, but you know what? You still got to save the pucks. and he's still putting up a ton of goose eggs, Vigs.
He's very, very good. And he got Minnesota last year. And I'll be curious to see how he performs tomorrow, because I think Minnesota plays a better game right now. Like, they play a ground game where I think they're going to get more dangerous shots, more pressure, be able to move the puck laterally and force him to cover more ice. One of the things that makes McKay so effective is, just like closer, is he reads the play really well and he's aggressive. So if Minnesota has the ability to have some space, maybe it's a different game for him tomorrow.
So anyway, with the Hobie hat trick, I'm guessing one or two people know, because these votes are tabulated. The final top 10, it's the top three are the three guys who go, but they already know who that top voter is, or maybe only Wally Shaver knows, who runs kind of that whole thing, but very few people know.
It's a weird process because there's like a committee who discusses it and awards it. It's not really like one of those things where everybody just submits their vote and they tally them and this is the guy who wins. There's kind of a discussion. It's kind of like that NFL Hall of Fame thing where they kind of have a committee and they talk through candidates and they kind of give them the A and A situation. So we'll see. I think Myers has helped his case a lot.
Good luck, Ben, on that. Yeah. Definitely good luck, Ben. Well, let's move to the big game here, Vigs. Minnesota taking on Minnesota State. Minnesota State ended Minnesota's season last year with a convincing 4-0 victory. Frustrated the Gophers, took them out of their game. I think for the most part of the game, it was a 2-0 game for most of the game, and then a couple third-period goals. It was just over. But I was talking with that same Mankato friend last year. We were watching the game. This person was so nervous. I'm like, you don't need to be nervous. That team last year wasn't a comeback team. That game was over once it was 2-0. What's different this year, Vigs? I know the answer, but tell us what's different.
I think Minnesota is playing smarter hockey. They got away with it a little bit in the second half of the Big Ten season, where teams would let them into games at times and give them odd man rushes. But I think the team we saw in the regionals is peak Bob Motzko hockey. Hard percentage plays, ground game, special teams, the power play for Minnesota. That Myers unit has looked great on the power play the last couple of weeks, and those are the keys for them. I don't think it was like last year where they were so dependent on rush scoring and they were so dependent on their guys to get free and get odd man rushes. This is a different team. They're scoring goals in many, many different ways. And I think they've been very consistent with their hockey, and this blue line core for Minnesota. So good.
Is this a case where Minnesota will be throwing Minnesota State's game right back at them?
I don't think they're going to be throwing the game at Minnesota State. I think this is a game where Minnesota is going to forecheck and they're going to be aggressive. This isn't a team that sits back and traps. Minnesota has good enough skaters where when they're on their game, they're putting pressure on defensemen and they're getting offensive zone time. This isn't a team that sits back, plays a 1-3-1, waits for a turnover in the neutral zone and tries to counter. That isn't the style they're playing. Will they set up like that sometimes if they don't have the timing to get on the puck and pressure it? Yes, but that's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to play fast, they're trying to play aggressive, and they're trying to put pressure on the other team so they can create chaos in the offensive zone.
Mike Hastings has built a juggernaut down there, Vigs. He's really gotten that team into prominence. Obviously, he has more victories over the last 10 years than any other team, coach, whatever you want to call it. There's no one's even close, really. I think it was Quinnipiac was within 30 games or something like that, ridiculous like that. But one thing he has really done, he has instituted recruiting older guys. And you had an interesting tweet this afternoon showing the average age of, Minnesota State versus Minnesota. I actually was surprised how old Minnesota was. We're actually a little older, but we've been trying to get to. But Minnesota State was still, I believe, close to a year and a half older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just pulling up the tweet now. Maybe I'm going to try to do this fancy thing where I share my screen. We'll see if this works. I'm going to give it a shot. So if we look here, the makeup,
zoom in on that, Biggs.
zoom in on that. We got the makeup of the Horns Up team and the Gophers. Minnesota State's average age right now is 23 years old from their commits that they've recruited. So I took out transfers when looking at this stat because I wanted to see who are the guys that they're recruiting and how does that impact their age. Whereas Minnesota, age 21 and a half, basically. So a year and a half older for Minnesota State, and that's intentional. The Mavs average age of their commit is over 19. So Mike Hastings is looking for guys toward the end of their junior career, and that's when he's getting them to commit. Minnesota, a very different roster. You look at the 14 NHL draft picks, those kids typically commit early, even though Bob has been trying to hold back some of his scholarships to offer guys later. The average age is still under 18 of a commit. So that's what you can look at there. We look at Minnesota when players start. This was a big thing for Bob as he wanted older, more experienced players. You look at the guys that made up this freshman class, all of them pretty much played 2 years of post-high school hockey. And that means that their average age that they start is 20 and a half. And that's, I've looked back at some of the Don Lucia teams that he was putting together, and they were almost always more around that 19, 18 and a half average starting age. Yes, there'd be a few guys who would be older, but the vast majority of them, if they went and played USHL or if they went and played development team, they weren't playing that extra year. They were leaving school early, playing that year junior, and then coming to Minnesota. So what that does is you're a much younger team. So that's kind of been changed a little bit. And then if you look at Mankato, yes, they do have some younger commits like Zamolek and Sandlin and Malowski. Those are kids who committed at 16, 17, strong ties to the program. But look at all these other guys, 19, 20, almost 21 when they commit.
Yeah.
And then when they start, only one player on their roster played a game in college hockey before they turned 20.
Wow.
Almost the average is 21. So when we talk about 21-year-old freshmen, yeah, it happens sometimes with Minnesota. It happens with Minnesota State all the time.
What's the average? 20.97 according to your stats.
Yep.
Wow.
And one NHL draft pick. So they have made it a decision for them that they're going to go older. And that means that they know what they're getting. Maybe they have a little bit more of a mature player who can play more systems hockey and can buy into that kind of stuff. They know what it takes to be successful in junior hockey, and then they apply it in college. So we have a real difference in style of building your program in this game. Denver and Michigan, those numbers are going to look a lot more like Minnesota, maybe even a little bit younger because they don't have the methodology of trying to get a little bit older. But Minnesota State and Minnesota, two contrasting styles about how to build a program.
And we could see why Don Lucia was about 5, 6, 7 years ago wanted to implement an age restriction.
Yep.
Kind of prevent this from happening.
Well, you'd have like a third of the roster for Mankato who already would have aged out because his idea was that, if you're over 20, you should only get 3 years. Yeah, you should only get 3 years of eligibility. And even with this Mankato team, you've got a couple of people who are in their graduate year. So they're in their 5th year. Reggie Lutz and McNeely, they're 25 already. Wow. It's a different age.
It is. Okay, Viggs, we've been talking about these guys all season. I see a little post from Chris Dahl here. How big does 9, 27, and 22 need to be tomorrow night?
I think it's okay if they're almost invisible at times. They just can't make glaring mistakes. I think the things that make 9 and 27 super effective is their ability to put pressure on the other team. So use their speed.
The penalty kill.
Especially the penalty kill. when 9-27 are aggressive on the kill and use their energy there, they can really make an impact in the game. And I think we saw that this past weekend against UMass and against Western. If they buy into that for this weekend, Minnesota is going to be in good shape. The issue is I see them in these games against in-state rivals. They just want to win so bad that they kind of lose themselves. They're like the puppy that sees the lake. They just want to
That's what we're talking
go.
about. It's playing smart, Vigs. You got to play smart against whoever you're playing.
Yep.
You got to keep that out of their head.
Oh. So if they play like they did last weekend, I think things are good for the Gophers. You could kind of tell in the press conferences when they were asked about, what's different this year and things like that. They know what they're supposed to be doing. Now it's time for them to do it on the ice.
Of course, our guy, Drew Cove, listening in. As long as 39, 89, and 7 continue to dominate play. Our boy, Drew, he's so smart.
I mean, how nice is it for them to have that line to throw out there for any D-zone face-off? Any power play, you can start with those three and a couple other stud defensemen, and you're going to be all right. I thought Jackson Nelson played a really nice game between Pitlick and Bros this past weekend. He's an effective player with those guys because he holds the puck a little bit better than Hughlin maybe. So it gives some space for Bros and Pitlick to make plays because he holds on to it better than I think Hughlin does at this point. So I think that's a good fit. And then, of course, I thought Perbix looked good as another center. He knows his role and he's going to play smart hockey.
Can Minnesota State get into Minnesota's head like they did last year? I mean, even Bob talked about it today. Last year, through 2 periods, what was it, 8 or 9 shots?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously not ideal. If you can keep them from scoring and you're still in that situation, obviously is much better. But that, even if it happens, getting towards the end of the second period, they don't have very many shots, Figs. That's going to get into a kid's head.
It will. And if that's the situation, I play the Myers line as much as possible because I don't think the Myers line is mentally capable of just going into that mode the whole night.
Yes.
They'll right the ship and they'll figure things out. The other lines, I could definitely see that as a scenario. But having that Myers line the way it is can kind of change it. It's like kind of having a number one starting pitcher. If you get in a losing streak, you can just know you're going to go to your number one starter if they're a true ace, and they can win a game basically by themselves. Minnesota does have that ability with that line and the number of defensemen they have that can extinguish pressure. So I think it's a little bit different, but I could definitely see a scenario where the other lines get lost and it becomes a real tight game.
I see Chris Stahl asking any word on Lucius, and it looks like done for the season.
You can't put him back in this weekend.
And that's another thing too. He hasn't played.
He hasn't played. As much of a talent and goal scorer he is, that's not what they need right now. They have what they need, and it's not goal scoring. They've got enough goal scoring right now. I hope that everything that's gone on this second half gets resolved and he's back and he gets an off season to train because he is a talented player. He's just had some injury issues the last couple of years. And I'm sure that there is a hesitancy to play through some of this stuff because he's got a long road ahead where this is not the end of his hockey career. This is a step. And as much as fans don't want to hear that kind of stuff, I've talked to some medical people, and, when you have issues like this, that if you play through them and you make them worse, they could change the trajectory of your career. So as frustrating as it is for an old school guy to accept that, that's just where they're at, and they seem to be playing just fine.
All right, Vigs. What happens tomorrow afternoon? Yeah, it looks like you've got Denver already in the afternoon game, and then the evening game, we've got our Gophers against the Mavericks. I'm guessing you probably feel a little more confident than you did 2 weeks ago before the regional.
I definitely feel more confident. Like the way that they played those 2 games shows to me that even if there's some adversity, they have enough pieces in place to break through. When you have defensemen like Brock Faber, Mike Kester, Jackson Lacombe, Ryan Johnson, you have the skill back there to really calm things down. You don't
Johnson, who's
have.
really stepped up lately too.
Well, he's just so solid of a skater. I don't think he tries to do anything too fancy.
Mm-hmm.
He shuts down plays and he gets the puck in the forward hand. And that's what you ask out of your defenseman. And now they've got a power play that looks dangerous as well. So those are some big differences. I didn't like the penalty kill against Michigan, but they're not going to be playing Michigan tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as good as Nathan Smith is,
Mankato's really good on the power play.
They're good. I don't know if they're really, really good. I think some of that stat that you see from them is that competition that they play. It makes it look better. But I think Minnesota's penalty kill, with Myers and Nelson being able to win draws, and then Walker and McLaughlin able to pressure on the change, I think that's a good unit right there. The big question for me is how they're going to handle the size and traffic in front of the net in those situations. Close is a smaller goalie. Some of those goals against, they're getting tipped, they're traffic, they're not clear shots. So we'll see.
Bless you, by the way.
Yes.
On the sneeze.
But I think
Minnesota's
going to win. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I could see it be
low-scoring with Mankato. Shocking.
Yeah, I could see it being like a 2-1, maybe with an empty netter to make it 3-1. I don't think we're going to see like a 4-1 type game. I don't think, even if a team gets some goals early, I don't think a team's going to run away with it.
I think it's still going to be key. Minnesota gets a first period goal, Viggs, they're in good shape. Even if they're down 1-0 and tie the game at 1, I think getting that first goal behind McKay is going to be huge. Even for, especially for the older guys who went through it last year. It's literally, okay, McKay is no longer shutting us out like he has for over a year now in their head.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think McKay is an unstoppable goalie. He's good. He's very good. But I think he's a little bit closer to closer than he is to some of the elite goalies, athleticism, size-wise out there. So it's going to be a phenomenal game. I'm excited for it. I do think the only, if I was to say what's the worst case scenario, Ben Myers takes a 5-minute major, checking from behind or something like that. That would be the only way that I would say they're going to get out of this. I don't think that'll happen. I hope not. I'm hoping for a great game.
I'm with you on that. I'm trying to stay confident. Trying to believe. I'm not so sure on your Michigan-Denver thing. It's so hard to predict that. I do believe Minnesota gets through to the championship game. What's next, Viggs? You have them against Denver. Denver, wow. Solid team.
I think Minnesota has more grit. This is the Minnesota team that's had the most grit that we've seen. And that they are putting the pieces together right now. I think the Gophers are going to win a title. I think they're going to get number 6. But if somehow Minnesota State comes out of this game, I think Minnesota State wins too. And the better teams are in the evening game tomorrow.
There you go, folks. Viggs picked them. National title. Let's go. Let's go. I'm with you, Viggs. I'm on the bandwagon.
Last weekend sold me. Like that regional. That's the best I've ever seen Minnesota play.
It was the toughest regional.
It by far was. I think there are a lot of other easy paths into the Frozen Four. Minnesota got the hardest one, and they came out of it with great A's.
Especially against the hostile crowd against the reigning national champions. Yes, not as good of a team. And come from behind in a hostile crowd, because there was no hostile crowd Saturday or Sunday afternoon. Friday night there was. They overcame it. Came down by 2 goals twice to win. I was just like, whoa. And then obviously the shutout of Western, shutting down the top scorer in the country. I'm kind of with you on that. Yeah. But I think for both you and I, we kind of still needed to see them prove that.
I wasn't expecting that in the regional. I came to that weekend going, I don't know if they're going to be able to put it together,
But we've
but they
seen
did.
flashes of that kind of team, though, this season. I mean, all season long, we've seen them. Sometimes they maybe blow out a team. We got was it a 5-1 game against Michigan? They did the same thing at North Dakota. But like you said, that second game, it wasn't a blowout, empty net goal, but it was methodical. They shut them down. They just couldn't do anything. And like you said, that was the most impressive game you've seen them play in recent years. Let's do it again tomorrow, folks.
That was a UMD like performance, a Sandalin like team almost with a little bit more skill. And if they can do that this weekend, look out.
Let's go, folks. Let's go. Let's get another national championship. I wish I was there. I know you do too, but I started looking at some of those prices, Vigs. Whew. It would cost more than my vacation for my 50th birthday, which is a week, and hopefully Aruba.
Kudos to all the fans that had the $2,000 plus to get out there and enjoy the weekend. It's going to be a heck of an opportunity. And
kudos for those who plan to do it every year and spent probably half or maybe 2/3 of that.
Yeah.
And I heard some people saying they got a room for 160, but then they saw what the rooms are going for, 300 and 400 a night.
Yeah.
Wow.
Plan ahead for Tampa next year because I think Minnesota's in a really good spot right now.
I actually may do that, but that's not so bad for me because I have relatives down there that live across the bay out in Peninsula there. So I have a place to stay, which is the tough part. So,
yep, the pride is back in the Pride on Ice right now.
All right, Vigs. This is our second to last show. We're going to wrap it up next week, no matter what happens for the team. You got any other thoughts?
This is the benefit of building an older roster, is that you can compete in the playoffs. And we've been waiting for this for a long, long time, and it's finally in place. And it's fun to watch.
Unfortunately, everyone got older too because of the transfer portal and extra years. But we only have one of those players on our team now, and that would be Crookshank, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think he's still a true senior. He didn't get an extra year.
Yes.
So
yeah.
And Bob did the right thing by saying goodbye to some guys and bringing in all the freshmen that he's brought in, because this team would not be as good as it is without those young freshmen contributing.
All right. Sounds good to me. Let's hope. National championship, folks. Let's do it. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the GPL podcast. We'll be back next week with our season finale to wrap up whatever happens this weekend. For those of you watching live, we'll have a bit of overtime coming up next. For the rest of you, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on the GPL podcast. And there's Viggs doing his beverage of the week with the new music. I still heard it though, Viggs. It sounded great.
That's good. So this is a New England style IPA from Castle Danger up in that Duluth area.
Castle Danger.
6.9%. Nice. I've had this already this week. It is phenomenal. It's kind of in honor of Sandlin not being at the Frozen Four this year. So cheers.
Well, I took tomorrow off, Viggs.
Oh, what a smart man.
So I actually have some. This is a dessert wine that I bought at Painted Prairie Vineyard out in southwest Minnesota. Last year, got this. It's just prairie apple. It's a weird, goofy thing here. We'll see what it tastes. I'm sure I tasted it then, Viggs. I don't remember.
It could be a good thing.
Ooh, it does smell good though. So we'll get more on here. What color? I don't remember. Oh, it looks like it's kind of a rose color.
Well, Jupe, I just want to say it took me until this stage of the podcast season to get a little cooler bag with my beers in it. I was like, I'm too old to be running back and forth, so I've got a little bag here. So,
ooh,
because I don't have a fridge in here or anything, so
that is good.
Very professional.
I knew I had 28 seconds to go get my bottle of wine, which was already open. I just had kept it in the refrigerator.
That's good.
Because I like the new exit music was 28 seconds. Hey, did you kind of notice when the video's played? There's like a blue line that goes across the screen now, Biggs. Watch out for that.
Okay.
And actually, I'll just play a video. You can see you got the old "You Crazy." You can see a little blue line going across. You can kind of time it up.
I wish there was one less mistake tonight that we weren't talking about right now.
Can you give us anything on Walker? Injury, disciplinary, anything like that? Just curious.
Are you crazy? I mean,
are you crazy?
Boy, Bob was in a good mood today.
He Yes, Steve. Well, let me bring back the chat so I can see it. Steve, I went some dessert wine from Painted Prairie out in Southwest Minnesota. Went to, I think it was last July. Got to do a little
little blocking.
Little blocking. Jeez.
Oh boy.
Block. Yeah, Steve is not. It says there. That's okay. Steve's not. He's on mobile. He said he couldn't do any of that tonight. So I wonder if I can just get rid of that. It keeps showing up. I don't know why, even though it was blocked. Oh. The spam bots always hit it if you stay on too long.
It's all right.
Oh yeah, this is good wine though. I kind of wanted something sweet. So this is good.
Yeah, very strong pour.
If I finish this, I'll go to the whiskey. Oh, come on. Of course it's a heavy pour.
Yeah.
It's wine. I did have a little bit of dinner tonight, so I'll be okay. It wasn't like it was against John a couple of years ago for Thanksgiving with Kinger. Empty stomach, full bottle. Oh, Nelly. Who's back? Oh, come on. Don't make us do that already. People are saying Nyes might actually stay.
Yeah. He was on, what was it today with Scott Wheeler? Prospects, Writers.
I saw a tweet from Scott Wheeler.
Yeah. He thinks he's going to come back. And I think Bob is saying, hey, you are playing with a Hobie Baker finalist in Ben Myers. It's probably going to benefit you to try to repeat this without him on your line next year and be a leader on this team. I thought it was interesting when Nyes went to the World Junior Camp. He made some comment when he was coming home that until going on that trip with that team, he considered himself kind of a lone wolf kind of guy. I'm out here for me. I'm playing for me. I'm playing for my development. And when he played on that World Junior team, he's like, oh, to be successful in this game, it's different. You got to be more than just a me person. Now you have to be a teammate and you have to be a leader and you have to do all the right things. And maybe being paired up with Ben Myers this year, a guy who came back after getting some offers to go pro last year, maybe he's learning something from that. And maybe that's going to be his path, because right from the start of the year, I noticed him in drills and you're like, this guy is big, he's physical, and he can skate. He's quick. He's good in and out of stop and starts. And I think that's really what separates him. So I think him developing that character and leadership ability is going to be huge for him in the next year. So I think he's back. Faber, I'm not so sure. For a while, I was thinking Faber might come back because he also has kind of got that leadership mentality to him. But man, he is so good and so ready. Like, I think the separating thing for him is he handles contact better than any college defenseman I've seen. Like, he makes plays under physical pressure, no problem. So you're muted, Jupe.
It's weird. I think when I lost connection with my earbuds, it muted me.
We're
Because I
back.
didn't hear you, and then I started hearing you again, and then I didn't realize I was muted.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens with some of the other guys on the roster. Like, if we get a surprise like a Ryan Johnson or a Jackson Lacombe, I don't think those guys are necessarily ready to leave. They have more growth in their game. Like Jackson Lacombe, look at his first half of the year compared to his second half. This is only like
he was not good at the first half.
No, he was not, because he doesn't know how to play defense yet. He's still learning. And I think, if Brock Faber is the guy who moves on, that's more minutes for him to play. And I would still like to see him be a little more productive on the power play, shooting the puck. He's looked pretty good moving the puck. I mean, some of the plays he's made on the power play, like shifting his hips and shifting the puck to get passes through lanes, really impressive stuff. So I think he would benefit with another year of college hockey to develop that skill, because he's a guy who wants to be a power play guy, I think, in the NHL. And if you go too quick, you're going to be stuck in the AHL trying to do that skill set too.
Interesting.
The other thing would there be any weird portal guys? I don't know if we will see that happen in Minnesota, but
there are 190 available players in the portal right now.
There are not 190 landing spots for those players.
But there are 3 teams. Lindenwood, another new team, and
Stonehill
and Anchorage coming back.
Yeah.
So they're going to be looking for players.
St. Thomas could probably still use some players. They kind of have a tough year.
Last time I saw, they had 8 guys in the portal.
Yeah. Well, Rico's making tons of friends there. I think I'm surprised we haven't seen more guys from CC get in the portal because of their coaching change.
Look who it is. There he is, the man himself, Drew Cove.
Go on, guys. How's it going?
I saw you watching the show. I saw your comment. I'm like, I'm going to throw out the link to you and just see if you could come on with us. How's it going, kid?
Hey, it's going pretty good. I miss you guys. It's been a long time.
I know. Yeah. You haven't been around the rink much.
I know.
At all?
Yeah, I kind of was working. I haven't. I went actually with my dad, and we were there. We were in the stands. It'd been a while, but hadn't been other than that. Haven't been in the media side really at all. So,
did you throw a beer on the ice?
Yep, definitely. A couple. I had a lot of cans. The Miracle on Ice, yeah.
Yeah.
Had a couple of those, tossed them out there now. But
that's good.
No, yeah. Hopefully next year I think I'm gonna be able to get back there more regularly. But just everything kind of got pretty hectic. So
my girlfriend kept wondering when little Drew was gonna be doing some live video after a game, and I'm like, sorry, we can't harass him.
I should have been doing something from home, I should have just been back here. All right. Here's what
I should have just gone for a walk about the neighborhood.
You see, that's what I like. The ones outside the arena, you're just walking around. Those were great.
That was when I lived in Stadium Village. I walked back from, and it was cold. It was awful. It was like the one series I think I got to in COVID. I think the Penn State series, before they're kind of like, all right, we're tightening things up again. And it was cold. I was out of breath walking down, and I was like, oh God, this stinks.
So what do you think about this weekend there, Drew?
Yeah, I was talking about it on the MNCAA podcast as well. We were kind of recording some of that stuff and kind of talking about how, I think it'll be obviously a really tough matchup, I think, with Mankato and obviously having kind of seen them in the recent past, it's been kind of not great memories for Gophers or Gopher fans. But I mean, if they play as complete as they were, I think in my bracket before the tournament started, I picked the Gophers and Mavs to be here, but I picked the Mavs to win. But after these last two games for the Gophers, man, this is I think I'm changing my opinion heading into tomorrow. But it's I don't know. The game against Western really, for how complete it was, man, that was a really impressive game from
Yes.
just a bunch of lines. And obviously, kind of like comment too, and like, yeah, I don't think any of the other lines really need to be. They can be crapshoots as long as specifically 39 and 89 are like on, and we saw that the whole game last game. And it just, you put the puck on Matthew Nye's stick anywhere in the kind of that, in those hash marks, and he'll find a way to put it in. It's just wild how often that goes in. So
I kind of think the only bad game Myers and Nyes have played was the Big Ten championship game against Michigan. That's really the only night where I've seen them kind of get away from what's made them successful. I felt like they were trying to be intimidating.
they were chasing a little bit. Myers
And they were-
specifically
yeah.
looked like he was chasing.
I felt like they were trying to make a statement, and maybe that's a learning lesson for them. They're like, don't
Mhm.
change who you are.
Yeah.
You've been pretty good all year. Just stick to that.
I noticed Jason Enberg just posting here. Robert Morris as well. So that's really kind of 4 teams that will need bodies. And that's, the portal's huge right now. I mean, it's kind of a what, we know the scholarships went down, so there's going to be less players, but it's just kind of a fortunate situation. Robert Morris coming back, Stonehill, Lindenwood, and Anchorage coming back. We hope everything, but that's a lot of spots for teams to fill. And then like you said, St. Thomas down quite a few guys as well.
Well, North Dakota too. They're losing a bunch of players who came from the portal, and now they've Sanderson signed already, so they're going to have spots to fill again. And it seems like it worked out pretty well for them this year. If they still had Sanderson in the lineup, maybe their regional goes a little bit differently.
He's injury prone.
That is one game
you hate to see it, right?
That is one game that I did make it up to. Me and my dad made our first trip up to the Ralph, and that was we actually saw. I think we saw both games from what I remember. But that was boy, is that place. I mean, because I went up there. I think we went up there in 2017 is when I was at the Daily too. But man, that place is boy, and yeah, I think Sanderson on the power play in those games. That's just one thing that stood out to me. He just didn't look. He looked really flustered whenever he was trying to kind of quarterback it, and that's one thing that stuck with me the whole weekend. I'm like, man, Sanderson is really hyped up, but he is looking fish out of water in some of these scenarios.
Yeah, I think it took him a while to adjust this year. I think, just like Jackson Lacombe, like so many expectations for what they wanted their seasons to look like. And as a defenseman, you can't force that stuff to happen. You have to read and react and create plays out of chaos. You can't just force stuff to happen. I think we've seen that Michigan, when they play well, like it's because of high cycles and people making mistakes against them. It's an unusual offensive system that Michigan runs with that high cycle. And they've got so many switches and picks up high that you're just thinking, man, they are so close to turning the puck over and giving up breakaways, but they don't seem to do that very often.
It's going to be a fun weekend.
Yeah.
I took the rest of the week off, which is why I'm drinking the wine tonight.
Oh, that's nice. First round of the Masters tomorrow, then the Michigan Denver game, and then what a top 10 sports day, huh?
I think Tiger's round ends just about as the Frozen Four kicks off.
I know 9:34. I think is a tea time right here, Central Time.
Yep. So
what do you guys think about the Gopher game moving to ESPNU and zero announcements about it? It's like
I mean,
I put a tweet out there, and
yeah.
it blew up. And the funny thing is that Butchercross had just put a tweet out
Mm-hmm.
around that time, which clearly means someone didn't tell him.
Yeah. It's going to hurt the overall ratings number, which is going to be a bad look, a little bit.
Because that's why they put the Minnesota and Minnesota State at the night game in the first place.
Right. But it's modern
Baseball,
TV. I'm going to find the game anyway. And anybody who wants to find the game and wants to watch is going to be able to find it. And if you can't, you can go to the Riverview Theater and you can watch it there.
Will they go to US Bank Stadium if they make it to Saturday of Eggs?
I don't know. That would be kind of fun. We saw that with the Final Four. I don't know if the U is going to be able to swing that on their bare bones staffing, but it would be cool.
I did see a tweet earlier. Someone tweeted at us about question for the podcast tonight. I didn't get to it, but is it time for the U's hockey marketing team some serious credit? They put out a very cool hype video today. And they've been bringing fans to the rink in droves in the second half of the year. I, for one, have been very impressed as of late.
The hype video tonight was sweet. I don't know.
I didn't see the new one yet. I saw the one last week where I think Leopold, was he the narrator?
A little Phil Collins one, Viggs.
Yeah. Here, let's try my screen share again and see if I can get this to work. Because this is pretty cool.
Ooh, something's coming.
It's got to be good when it starts with that music.
Not really hearing it though, Viggs.
The University of Minnesota has had a men's hockey team. And for over a century, these legends of the past have paved the way for the next generation of Minnesota hockey greatness. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Hold on. I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Hold on. And once again, we're back. On the biggest stage college hockey has to offer. In a city known for championship moments, where our national title history began.
At venerable Boston Garden, Minnesota was the national champion.
You people are really the threshold of joining a very select fraternity. Fraternity, ex-Minnesota hockey players are going to wear that in. There's nothing in your life that you'll find more proud, gentlemen.
Here at Minnesota, we don't just play for a city or a school. We play for an entire state.
Damn
a state that's ready to watch this team remind the entire nation what pride on ice looks like.
Myers gets it in front of him. He scores! Ben Myers scores! The Gophers win on dogged determination by Aaron Hughlin to send them up. Now Abraham, he darts down the left corner. In front of the second score. Matthew Nyes buries it on the second team. It's 1-0 Minnesota. Wheeler trying to get any shot. Oh, what a save by Close. Now hitting that pass. Breakaway for Nelson. He goes in. He scores! Wow, 32 seconds. A breakaway for Nelson. 1-0 Minnesota. It's worked back up top to the point to the right side. Across the field. It is 2-0 Golden Gophers. They're not done. They're not done.
Tomorrow night, the Skate for Six continues.
pretty good.
I mean,
pretty
get
good.
the feels going there. Pretty good. I mean, that's clearly got to
man.
be the football marketing guys stepping in for
Well,
this.
it's the whole and their whole
'Cause
video
they do
team
that
is
stuff.
huge.
And they're all really talented at what they do. And
Oh yeah.
it's nice to see them.
And football's
turning
got
their
a
attention
huge
to
marketing
hockey.
team.
Yeah,
I mean, when you
like
see
they've got like
custom,
4 or 5 people dedicated for this stuff.
Yeah, and when you see a custom tweet with, PJ Fleck thanking or cheering on a team, there's always some kind of Photoshop file part of it. Someone's working on that stuff. Someone's got to be full time working on that stuff just for Flex.
And then
Well,
Bob's
they have
saying
like
the
4 or 5
availability,
people.
saying, "Oh yeah, it's just me. When I'm tweeting, it's just me."
Okay,
That was good.
speaking of
That was
Fleck,
good.
what the hell? I had
Bungee
an
cord
eye
injury.
accident with a bungee thing.
Yeah, he should have been
Nope.
rowing the boat instead of messing around with the bungee cord.
No, I for me that's just more of a. I had this little accident. Let's get an eye job and blame it on that. I thought that whole story was just BS. He had eye work done.
It does feel a little suspicious, but
I didn't even recognize him.
there are a lot of people who, like, I'm a Gopher Illustrated guy. Ryan Burns does a great job covering football for them. And so I listen to their
Oakdale
stuff.
legend. Another Oakdale guy.
Right. Oakdale
Ryan
legend.
Burns. Yep.
But yeah, he does a good job, and he's kind of been deflecting all the comments about it. And I'm sure he knows the true story. So I'm going to try to get him a few non-IPAs, maybe some rum runners next time I see him and get the real dirt on this, because it looks
Hit up Rovnak. Hit up
awkward.
Rovnak. He knows. Rovnak's big deal. He's probably in Boston, actually.
I would think so. I would think everybody's in Boston right now. I saw some people tweeting about the USCHO party tonight at Johnny's.
Always a big deal.
I'm so jealous. Would have been fun to be there tonight. But then, it would have been hard to do the podcast. I would have to do it live from the hospitality show.
We would have figured it out. As long as we had a good connection, we would have figured it out.
Yeah. Sit on the sidewalk right in front of the Bobby Orr statue or something. There you go.
Yeah.
Interesting.
How's the wine, Jupe? I saw when you poured it. I said, "Oh boy, this is
I just poured another one.
Overtime, huh?"
I could sleep in tomorrow.
All right. Utilizing
You
the
can sleep
cooler.
until 9:34 once Tiger tees off.
Yeah, Jupe, you're not a golf guy, are you?
I'll watch. If he makes the cut, I'll watch.
He'll make the cut. The Masters cut is basically just to get rid of people who shouldn't be playing in the event, because all the past champions can play, and then the amateurs. So they just don't want those players playing.
My cousin lost an eye to a snap bungee cord. Just saying. I'm sure that is the case, Peter. He's looked fine these last couple of years.
Well, I don't know. His clock management hasn't been the best. And maybe it's the eye injury that impacted that.
Wow.
Maybe you can't quite see the,
Vig's throwing rocks right there.
Just saying. Could be.
Oh man. Hey, it's overtime.
It's overtime. Thanks, the 35 people that we have coming here. Appreciate it. This has been a fun year to podcast and cover. Like,
yeah, it
good
makes all those late
personalities.
years worth it.
Yeah, no kidding, right? It's like we
what's
have been
even
through
better
the
is
desert.
I shared with you some of the stats today. Finally Apple finally got their act together with tracking, and it's like we're getting really good stats. I mean, we got a lot of people who watch live. I mean, even if it's for a little bit on Twitter, it's on YouTube live right now. I mean, I can see here we've got 28 of the people watching are on YouTube, 4 on Facebook. We don't get the Twitter numbers. We just kind of look at Twitter later on after that. But then, even Spotify and Google, things like that, we get numbers from. And it's been a good year, Viggs.
Yeah, we'll
I
have to
think
do
we
a
have-
guest of the year at the end of the year. Our end of the year show. We'll do a guest of the year.
There you go.
Drew, what do
Viggs,
you
you
think? What do you think of this season?
I mean, you were mentioning the desert, and I was kind of I was talking like I think a few weeks ago I was talking with someone about this and saying, you know what, like what was probably like the lowest point of this program in a while, and I thought the 8-3 loss to Ohio State at Mariucci, what was it, 2017 or 18? It was Don's last year. They got shelled by like a decent Ohio. It wasn't a great Ohio State team, but it was like decent. And there was nobody in the building. Like there was barely anybody in the building to begin with. It was like an early December game right before Christmas break, and you look back at that and you say, man, that was bad. That was really bad. And to think now that they're back, I mean, 4 or 5 years from then, back here.
How about that home
that's the one thing I
series
can remember.
against North Dakota over Thanksgiving weekend not too long ago? Clearly being outnumbered by Fighting Pooh fans. I thought that was that good.
How about just getting destroyed by Penn State year after year for that stretch?
Yeah.
I mean, that was frustrating because Penn State's a team that there's not a ton of talent there. They just play an in-your-face style.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so frustrating to see Minnesota play right into that. And who was the Blackhawks draft pick for Penn State?
Empty.
What? I cannot recall.
I never remember.
Give me a minute.
Only two guys I can remember.
Evan Barrett.
Evan Barrett. Oh, the Lindgren. Yeah, him and
that.
Lindgren. That no beef for that 5-game stretch.
Yep. And he absolutely destroyed somebody on a check and then scored. And you're just like, what has happened to this program where that's now the thing that happens?
Or how about the 4 straight losses to them to end the season?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. You know, that was a tough
stretch.
Stretch.
I see Ryan just posted that too.
That was a low point for
was that Don's last year? Was that 2017?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I think it was because then they had the day of the NCHC where everything went against them to knock them out of the tournament. And I remember I talked to Don that
6
Sunday.
Results that shouldn't have happened. Yeah.
Yeah. And I talked to Don that Sunday and I had basically asked the question. He's like, you know, do you have an understanding with Mark Coyle about what's going to happen with this job? And he's like, yep. And I clarified him. He's like, do you want to share it with me? He's like, you'll find out this week. And like right at that point, I went to my editor at The Athletic and I was like, Don's done. And then like that night, the Star Tribune saw my article and called Don and said, you know, are you no longer the coach? And Don's like, well, I'm still the coach today. Like that was the quote. And I was like, okay, Star Tribune did not ask the right question. And Russo was like kind of anxious about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what did he say? And I was like, I'll send you the interview. And so I sent him the interview and he's like, good job. You're right. They're wrong. And I think Russo kind of liked being able to one up the Star Tribune that way. You know, he's a competitive guy and he's we've got it right. They've got it wrong. There's going to be a press conference this week and everyone will then find out. But that was a low point and Don knew it. He knew that they were just in a bad spot and he wasn't going to be able to pull them out of it.
And of course, the high point for Don was probably 20 years ago today.
Well, there was still another national championship.
Are we going to play another video, Jupe? Or are we going to play that Polish Prince, the leap? That was an amazing moment of the program in my younger days. Hard
Everyone
to believe 20 years ago.
It's just see now that's Viggs, you've been talking about the student section all year. I bet you half the people there weren't even born when that one happened. I was 4 when that 2002 one happened.
Do you remember if you got to watch any of the games?
No, I started going to games in 2009. And the first game I really remember going to when my dad had season tickets. Friday night, first game of the year, Sacred Heart. It was Kent Patterson's year after Kangas left. It was 9-0. I was like, whoa, I'm like, screw the Wild. This is fun.
Gophers win the face-off. The puck is loose. Here's a shot. Oh! Kowalski ties it up! Woo! Yahoo!
That coach knows who to put out there. Kowalski has had one whale of a game. He really has. Oh, boy. Oh, my goodness.
It ain't over, baby.
Oh.
And that took only 6 seconds.
Oh.
Always fun to hear Glenn on that, obviously with Wally as well.
Wally's been good on the calls lately. He's had some good goal calls down the stretch here.
He also Frank also stopped on a cut that overtime goal against UMass. You hear Frank first go, "He scores!" I texted Frank about it. Zero response.
Yeah, he's probably a little embarrassed about that.
Like, was Wally happy about that? Nothing. And of course, we've got this one.
Taking the face off, Tom Wyman, who's logged a lot of ice up front for the Maine Black Bears. Gophers win it. Leopold lines and fires right on. Tate now picks up the loose puck on the right wing wall. Back to the blue line for Leopold. Another shot deflected. It's loose in front. The Gophers win! The Gophers win! The win!
Oh.
The Tommy! The champions!
Oh. Is that a happy-looking crew or what? Oh, my goodness.
Sir!
Oh. Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Sounds like a beer's opening there.
Oh,
someone's got.
The funny thing is,
premium.
I love listening to Glenn on that because you just hear him go, "Oh!" Fun times.
Yeah, Drew, when I was younger, my dad and I, we'd rush back to the car after going to games so we could hear Glenn do his 3 stars of the game and give his recap, and we'd hustle to get back to the car just to listen to that on the way home. And
yeah, I mean, I think I listened to a little bit of that when because I don't know how long, I don't remember, because I mean, Frank was still doing TV, I guess, when I would have been going to those games in 2010, 11 or something like that.
Ooh. That was around the end of his reign.
Okay. But either way, I mean, still, it was always, I mean, listening to Frank and Wally on the way home, and then, like, I don't know, getting the chance to meet him later was actually, like, when I started covering him for the Daily, those are the people I was like, whoa, this is cool.
It's always fun to go
Wally
there.
and Frank, it was amazing.
Catch up with those guys.
Ryan, can we get Frank and Wally to voice over a call of Jupe take a drink?
A post game. We'll have to get him to do it live and record it for like a TikTok or something. We'll get you we'll get a GPL TikTok account.
If they win tomorrow, I'm tempted to just do a live broadcast. Just, people live in the chat, maybe. I'll send them a link, say, hey, come join us. What's your question? Let's talk.
I'll see what I can do.
Get some people in Boston, maybe. If anyone's in Boston. I saw Brevery was in the chat earlier. He sent me a photo of him and color guy, ESPN.
Cappy?
No, ESPN.
Oh, ESPN. Colby? Barry
Melrose. My gosh.
Oh,
I know Cappy's there.
Cappy is there with Dan Kelly and Fred Pletch. They're all three.
I'm jealous of those guys.
And I was like, it's too bad. I was like, it's too bad, he wasn't there with, live in a bar. And I'm like, no, if anyone's live in a bar in Boston, they're having fun right now, and they're in the chat, let me know. I'll send you a link. You're not gonna be able to hear us, but I just want to broadcast the vibe from Boston right now. By the way, this dessert bottles suck.
Is that a new one? Is that a new bottle?
Only 500 milliliters in this little damn thing.
Oh.
2 full glasses.
What's the ABV on that?
Your what hurts? Well, how about I read the entire thing to you here?
Sure. I do it with the beers every once in a while.
There we go.
Prairie apple from Painted Prairie Vineyard. Prairie apples is produced from fermentation of the juice of locally grown apples. With juice from locally grown berries and
the redness.
Yeah.
Great.
Added prior to bottling for flavor and sweetness. Located on the rolling prairie of Minnesota, Painted Prairie Vineyard produces handcrafted wines from locally grown grapes, representing distinctive character. 500 milliliters, 9.5% alcohol by volume.
5.9?
Sorry, 9.5.
9.5. Sorry, you might have said it right. I might have just heard it wrong.
I've got 6.9% on this one, which is nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, Viggs, you were telling me that I think I'm more of a wine person than a beer person.
I know. Well, next time I see you, I've got a bottle picked out for you. Kind of I want to get you to graduate from the prairie juice wines.
There's some of the good local. I like some of the local.
It's fine.
I've had fun. I've had fun going to these places too. Painted Prairie is way out there too.
It's fine. We just got to get something that you can order if you ever are out with John King, and he won't give you a double take.
When am I going to be out with John King?
You never know. It could happen.
You never know when you'll find yourself in White Bear Lake, huh? That's all I got to say.
One time I've been in White Bear Lake.
That's because you're way out west, though.
I'm from Bloomington too. I mean,
you're used to being far, far away. Man, having to get to Bloomington for my Mike Jamboree at the end of the year a couple times, and then come back to Northeast Minneapolis, change kids, go back down. That was a lot.
It's 35 to 98th Street.
I know, but when you've got a 7 and a 9-year-old, you're carting around town.
Yeah.
It's a little more challenging.
Yeah. Okay, definitely. Thoughts on this?
I'm a young man in that photo, I think.
I hit your Facebook and I'm like, geez, you have so many photos of you so far away.
Yeah. Maybe that's on purpose.
That's good. But then I saw that. I'm like, you got a good smile going. And no, but
that's me about 9 years ago. Just so you know.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm sitting on the couch with my baby boy who's just home from the hospital. I was running marathons at that point. That's
why you're a happy man.
Peak physical condition, not worn down by lack of sleep.
Yep. So hopefully the message board's going to be upgraded here soon, folks. Didn't want to do it before the tournament because it would just piss people off.
Drew, we got your take on
people chomping tomorrow. Go ahead.
We got your take on the Gopher game. What do you think is going to happen in Denver, Michigan? Have you watched much?
I haven't watched really much Denver at all, but I mean, hearing from some other people that watched a lot of NCHC hockey and kind of how comparable it's been to a lot of the teams that Minnesota struggled against and play the way that Mankato does and the way that UMD plays. Sounds like they're pretty complete right now, and it sounds like there might be some concerns about the goaltending. Not as concerns, but I mean, the way people have concerns about Justin Close. But I just wonder if Michigan, if Denver keeps Michigan's offense to the outsides and they don't, and they kind of keep being pesky with the puck and getting it and not letting them have any clean chances, I wouldn't be surprised to see Michigan kind of get a little flustered and say, well, why isn't this working? And then kind of stall out a little bit.
Right.
Because it looked like that's what the Gophers were trying to do, but they just were a little undisciplined with it in the Big Ten championship game. Like, I mean, the Jackson Nelson hit, you look at it, you say, oh my God, yeah, like you're sold, and now you know you're bigger than everybody else. You can't make certain hits, and it's gonna look bad, and it's gonna like it could hurt people. And that one was kind of
They
a
were
wind out of the
done
sails
in
too.
that game with the Kester deflection. It just seemed like after
Yeah,
it just took the
wind out of the sails kind of thing. But I mean, I think the
Yeah.
Gophers were on track to trying to beat the high flying game with that kind of mentality. But I think Denver could do it. Um, I just want I think I said earlier I would rather have the Gophers face Michigan because they know what they're up against. But
And
I
I
don't know.
think
The more I think about it, the more I might
That
waffle.
I know people hate Michigan, but that would be good for the league if it's Michigan, Minnesota.
And I think it's better for Minnesota to play Michigan on the NHL size rink than on the Olympic ice because Michigan did an amazing job of playing keep away in the offensive zone during like that second period. Minnesota couldn't get the puck back. Like that's the only time all year I've seen Minnesota just not be able to shut down cycles. And it was like 4, 5, 6 minutes at a time. Like there were some shifts, I think, for the defensemen that were like 3+ minutes because they couldn't get off. So I think the
so
NHL
sad because
will be
that
better.
crowd was off the hook.
And that's not the marketing people. That's the team doing really well and winning.
Yeah.
And opening up a student section to 2 more sections.
That was amazing.
We'll never see a student section like that again. That was football-esque.
I mean, what if they bring tournament or regionals back to campus sites? Then maybe.
Yeah, but those
long way down the line.
Those are not school tickets, though. They can't just give 3,000 tickets to students for a regional because that's NCAA tickets.
Yeah.
Whereas Big Ten Championship, they have a little more control because, yes, they have to reimburse the Big Ten for all those tickets they bought and gave away. Correct, Viggs?
They were still selling the tickets, though. They weren't just giving them away. They just oversold them, which I apparently wasn't supposed to share on the podcast. I got some feedback because I had like 5 or 6 people tell me about it.
So did you have grumpy Deutsch on you on that one?
I had a couple of grumpy people.
That was gold today.
That was my God.
That was perfect.
I'm so sad Nate missed it.
I still think it was scripted. Like no way that could.
No, I don't think it was. I think he was. For people who may have not seen it, during the media day today, the guy kind of the MC, he would see people like, hey, come on up front and make sure you introduce him. And like, hey, here's Wally Shaver. He's a Houghton Baker guy. Make sure you can see his face. Hey, Brian Deutsch, why don't you come up here? And then literally, what did he say? He used the word grumpy.
He's like, he looks a little grumpy or something.
Grumpy, and I'm like, oh my gosh! And right after that, we had the messages going back between each other.
Yeah, that's Dave Fisher, who's running the pressers. He's been doing the Frozen Four now, maybe like 6 or 7 years at least, where he's been the MC basically of all the press conferences.
And it's so nice because he's got personality. It's just like little. It's very loose.
Yes, he and Paul Allen are 2 awesome guys at running.
Paul Allen did 2002. He'll do things when they're here for Minnesota.
Yeah, he's really good at it too. Those are like 2 of the best people at like running press conferences because he'll like, okay, you answered the question, but we also want to hear from them. And if you're the reporter, like you do your question, then you have to hand the mic back to the runner, so you don't always get to do follow-ups. But he'll sometimes do it for you, which is nice.
And just the fact that he said he used you have to
grumpy Deutsch.
I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to grab that clip out of that because I did download it and I posted it earlier, the entire news conference.
That's going in the archives for when Brian does join us.
On the GPL YouTube channel. We posted it there.
Has Brian still never joined the pod? I guess I understand. But
a couple times we'll get a text or something from him if he's watching overtime.
Yeah.
I think has he even said something in chat before, Viggs?
Yep, he's corrected us in chat.
Yeah.
I hope he's watching now. I mean, why would he be? But I hope he is.
It's 12:15 there.
Do you think he's at the USCHO thing? Whoa! Yes!
What?
You finished the wine.
Well, yeah, the wine's gone.
Yeah.
The wine's gone.
I was debating doing a
maybe
call.
I should have had a little more than that little tiny piece I had. Gosh, we got 37 people listening to my drunk ass. You laughed, Drew.
It's funny. I like it.
Still one of my favorite stories with you, Drew, is me and Rob Scheel decided to go down to White Castle of Bloomington after a game.
Oh, yeah.
And there you are doing a live broadcast. And we got you to break up a little bit, got you distracted.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned White Castle. I was like, I was entranced.
Then it became my goal to do that.
Oh. It would be the same without it, honestly.
We miss seeing you at the rink too. I mean, it's just.
Hey, next season I'm gonna have to make some more adjustments to make sure I can be there more regularly too.
You could probably get in even if your name's not on the list. Though they do have some new people downstairs.
Oh.
And we were tight a couple times this year.
Oh, I bet. Space. Why wouldn't you be? Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't just the student section.
Not the way I'm used to it. Yeah. Right. When you could just waltz in a couple of those years.
Big Ten championship. Quite a few people were trying to get other people in. And they were saying, because I went in through there just to sign in, just in case I wanted to go upstairs or go anywhere. But I went as tickets, and they actually scanned my tickets down there.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, one of the penalty box attendants, had his wife come. And they're like, well, where's she going to go? Standing room. Okay.
Interesting.
Because there certainly wasn't room up in the press box.
No. Good night to be at the rink, though.
Yeah.
Oh.
But either way, I'll give Mariucci one thing. It does have a pretty decent sized when it's not entire. I mean, like they have that whole front row. They have like half of that back row when it's not. I guess maybe not because it's radio, but
it's a pretty big press box for a college arena. It might be.
Oh yeah.
Like the Duluth press box. Super tight.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And St. Cloud is basically the standing room section, only just cut off a little bit at the very top. And then when you get the fans all standing,
used to be in the stands.
Yeah, Mankato. For the big 3-game series back in the day, I was sitting at a table at the top of section, top of that first section. And you basically had a rope. And the thing is, the TV guys were in the same situation. They just had to rope it off, and hopefully people wouldn't bother them during the broadcast. Mankato's situation now is I actually like because, they built in seats, not too fond of the Cambria countertops because they're ice cold. And if you don't put something underneath your laptop, if it's not plugged in, it's going to die because it just freezes. But when they put those kind of levels up in the first couple rows of section 3, you're up above, the main lower section, and you can see very well. It's a great place to shoot from.
Cole Center's another one that's kind of bad. Like they have an auxiliary section when they're a little too full, like when Minnesota comes to town. Me and I don't know, Declan Goff once went down. We were down at Wisconsin, and we sat at the folding table across it looks like where they had removed seats because they still had the jacket. It was the second level, and they just like removed a section of seats and put a couple of little Party City folding tables or whatever, like rental center kind of folding tables, and that's kind of where it was. But
people need to realize how spoiled we are in Minnesota. Like Mariucci and at the X have huge press boxes. I mean,
And
Mary
even the Ralph is tight.
Hmm.
When I was up there, it was. I mean, we had to kind of shimmy by just to get to our spots, and maybe that was student media. Maybe we were obviously not at the very forefront at the of the press box. But I mean, even I think radio guys even had to go up this like steep little like ladder kind of thing to get to their little perch. It felt a little tight from what I remember, but
because I remember even today when I heard some of the audio, the guy was talking about the press box in Boston. He's like, we don't have enough spots up there for everyone to be there, so some of you will need to be downstairs in the auxiliary area. The X has a ton of spots. When I covered at the Tampa Times Forum that back then, was it Emile Arena now?
Amelie.
Yeah, Tampa is tiny. I mean, there's 15 spots, maybe. There is nothing there. So we're pretty fortunate here in Minnesota. You look at Mariucci, you look at the X. Wow, it's there. Mariucci is surprisingly large. So,
yeah.
Well, I can't wait to find out what Tampa's press box is like next year.
Let's all go next year. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm making plans now.
When I shot that game, they had me go down to the top of sections because there's like a little corridor when you go into each lower section, and I could stand at the top of those sections.
Like Target Center kind of setup. Oh, I hate it.
Here,
like I'm making plans. I think we went to
and right next to me would be suites on both sides because I'm in the aisle, so when there's stoppages, I had to move off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, I remember that game is as I'm in right next to me on my right, Mark Messier is right there, right next to me, and he's got Lou Nanny right next to him visiting. But there was no place for photographers to go. I think there's maybe one hole. So it was actually not a bad spot to shoot, but because the arena there, like you said, you got corridors to go into each section to go down. Whereas at the X, it's an open concourse. Oh boy. What you got there, Viggs?
So I have a concoction that is called 1915 because it has 1910 Old Forester bourbon paired with 1920 Forester bourbon in a 50-50 mix. So 1910, 1920, 1915. So it's a fun little bourbon trick that people do.
Very nice. Drew is there. Looks like he went to go grab a drink, so I'll add him back as he comes back.
Oh, the whiskey roasters. Yep.
There he's coming back. So let's we'll wait till he's situated there. It's always fun to have you on, Drew. Look at that. We caught him doing something. There he is.
That's right. I just had to grab my charger. It was about to die on me, and I would have
that what happened?
Faded away.
Kinger that happened to him.
Well, Kinger had Wi-Fi issues. And then Cappy, his something died. I had to restart once this year. Yeah. That was fun.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab a real brown liquor, but I will have ice. I can't do it straight.
Okay, well, suit yourself.
Yeah, maybe I should grab one too, just for the fun of it. I don't know.
Oh, so I'm gonna have to vamp here for a little bit.
No, go ahead. I'll wait till Juke gets back.
Okay. Do you think the fans come back next year?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think after you see the students this year, and it feels different. It feels like, just the way the team, sometimes, it's a little different with the NHL, I think, because like the fandom is it's a little bit more buttoned up, obviously with corporate seats and the corporateness of just even the players itself. It's
so
okay,
expensive.
it's a business, this is a job
to go to Wild games.
Yeah. But now it's you get these guys who are okay, we're here. We're kids. We're gonna go win. We're gonna go try and win a national championship. And it feels pretty authentic, and like I don't and maybe that and I think that's what team like marketing departments are trying to sell to fans every year. But this, I mean,
Mhm.
feels like they don't have to sell it as hard as they would have in the past, where it's like because I think it is like when you're selling college, it is hard to sell these guys that are going to be one and done, and that's what obviously what this program kind of had not a problem with for years, but like they just ran into a lot of guys who were one and done, or they all right here I'm here to get ready for the NHL. And I mean, these guys are obviously doing that, but like Ben Myers, it's like he's gonna have a job in the NHL,
Mhm.
but he's here now, and it's fun. And
Yeah.
he seemed to really like being here, Brock Faber included. It's like he was one of the watching Jupe's video on the ice after like the Wisconsin victory, the 8-0 bit, and he was just out in the ice, and this was like he was like leading the rouser in front, and like he's a leader on his team too. But like that's a that's a big thing from a guy who's like going to be in the NHL pretty quickly and like could leave tomorrow if he wanted. It's like he
Mhm.
knows like, all right, this is what it means to be a part of a team, and I think it'll make them better players. Like and like what you said, it's just like being learning to be a part of the team. I think you were saying it with like Matthew Nyes or something. It's like learning to play for your team is like just as important as learning to be a better hockey player yourself.
It's something. Like there's a reason why Edmonton is having a hard time like getting over the hump as an NHL franchise because I don't know if those players quite know it, like what it takes. Um, so I think that's a key part of it. But when you got a guy like Brock who's like almost like a fan, like I can't believe
Yeah.
I'm a number one defenseman for the Gophers, and I'm
Yeah.
here, and I'm the one that they're here for, and we've done
It's like,
this
yeah, just a little
energy.
bit of naivety. It's like where it's like you're not looking they don't feel like big time hockey players. They feel like these I mean, it I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's just like
But
they don't
Drew, I
yeah.
I would say that is kind of a trait of a majority of hockey players.
Mhm.
They're just normal people.
Yeah.
They're not the prima donnas. I mean, they're approachable. I mean,
Yeah.
I've just noticed that about hockey. I mean, freaking Blake Wheeler used to do a blog for us just for fun
Yeah.
back in the day. He would log into the site and post these little
Mhm.
things on the site, him and some other players.
Yeah.
I've just noticed that about many hockey players are just
Oh, yeah.
normal guys.
Yeah, and I mean, in especially being like someone who's kind of new. I mean, as like a student reporter, like when I got to cover Tyler Sheehy for a couple years, it's like, all right, this guy's a really good dude. Like he's just a good human being. It's nice to like, it's nice to form those kind of relationships when it is kind of like it's my job. It's like his job. Like both of us are kind of uncomfortable because we haven't really done this a lot before. But it's like, okay, I don't know. It's just
There's our boy Ekas. I'm going to bed, boys. Go Gophers. Go Tiger. Oh, Tiger Woods. Yeah, he's a big golf guy. Tomorrow, what
I
do
got
we
the
here?
that's the hat today.
What do you got here, Viggs?
So, your college commitment wasn't a straight line. Do you remember that process and you come into this weekend, kind of thinking how it's turned out at all?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of questioning, a lot of doubting since obviously I growing up I was always Gophers. I came to the Gopher games every Friday and Saturday with my parents. I had probably 7 different Bukestad or Rao jerseys in my closet, but this is a special place and this is a dream come true to be here. And I think everyone in that locker room would say the same thing. It's playing for Gopher hockey. It's obviously a lot of people that came before us, a lot of past, winning, past amazing history, and that's to where that am is, indescribable. It's like I mentioned, wearing the USA jersey. Same thing here. It's special. So.
I mean,
Gophers,
you need players.
Golfers.
You need players like that in your program
Yeah.
when you're Minnesota.
Oh gosh, yes.
And
Absolutely.
that's not like an inauthentic him just speaking to that. Oh, larceny.
You got me on this, Viggs.
Mm-hmm.
A nice and cheap whiskey. I mean,
It's affordable. It's affordable.
It is affordable, definitely, and it's delicious. Sorry, I just had to share that. I'll bring us back here. I don't know if that's breathe a little bit.
And Mr. Johnson, I've not tried the new Blood Oath. I have a hard time spending that much on my bourbons. I got a Seagrass barrel bourbon. That was kind of one of my treats this year. I got a Four Roses barrel proof this year that was expensive, and a Mayor Pingree 15-year bourbon. Those have been my treats. But
yeah, I had Macallan again this weekend, and it wasn't as good as the last time I had it over Thanksgiving.
Well, you don't have to drink the whole bottle at once.
Okay, it is true that we did polish off an entire bottle of Macallan 12 that night. But I don't know, maybe I wasn't feeling it this past Saturday when I was at that same house.
Sometimes you got to have the mood.
And he gave it to me straight. I like to have it on ice. I just needed to I can't do straight.
It's okay.
Drew, you're 21, right?
We've had this discussion a bunch of times.
You're a young looking guy. What can I say?
Hey, I appreciate it. I mean, yeah, the first time I probably came on this podcast, I was probably 19 or 20.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing I love about this hockey community, though, Drew. We'll get to hang out with the Frank and Wally, who are in their late 60s. We have guys that are closer to our age. We have guys that are closer to your age. We all come together and we all have a ball. And we have age differences that can go up, 40 or 50 years. I love that about this community. Just love it.
Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, sometimes, how people come to Minnesota and they say, oh, it's hard to make friends because, Minnesotans are so usually internal and kind of closed off. But as a freshman who'd never really covered any sports before and coming to the Gopher games, and it was very nice to be, I don't know, just very good to feel, not to feel like a complete outsider most of the time. So I'm glad it was the hockey community has been very good to me too. So.
Mr. Johnson, I will say that Blake McLaughlin and his family have done my kids over the past few months has cemented my love of Gopher.
He seems like he's been just an absolute M guy for however long he's been here. And it's sometimes it's oh boy, I need to go out and win this game because I need to win this game. But
I think we ran into the McLaughlin family after Wisconsin in the elevator, and they're like, "Why don't you come on out and party with us?" I'm like, Mom and Dad were there. They were so excited.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
I would take Blake back for another year. I would take Blake back for another year. I would give him a 5th year. I'd push off somebody to have him back. Sammy, we'll see.
I would like to see what he could do without Sammy.
Right.
Maybe pair him with a certain freshman.
Cooley and Nyes and McLaughlin.
Cooley, Nyes, and McLaughlin.
Would that be fun or what?
Yeah. It'd be fun to watch in Tampa.
If you're watching live, if you're not in bed, stick around.
Stick around.
Not that it's his choice.
Well, who knows? It's complicated. That's for sure.
Chris Eckes, you still haven't gone to bed yet. Go to bed.
Yeah. Tiger tees off in
9:34 a.m. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly 10 hours. With the 10-hour mark. You can still get your 8 hours. And,
I bet you there's a Tiger tracker on Twitter literally saying 10 hours right now. Here's what he had for dinner.
I mean, as much as I have issues with Tiger a little bit personally, I just love his golf.
Yeah.
You have to separate some of that.
Hey, I'm rooting for a Morikawa 1, a Tiger 2 finish.
Ooh. I don't know if Morikawa's got the Masters game.
Didn't he win it last year?
He won the PGA.
Yeah, he won the British Open.
And the British,
I think. I can't remember.
Because I remember his shot at the PGA in San Francisco when he drove the green. And you're just like, what the hell?
Yeah. And see, that's like it's just like his between the tee and the green is where he really I mean, that's just like it's really fun to watch like when he's on. Like I think it was a battle with like Louis. There was one tournament where it was like a Sunday and he was just running away with it. And like it was an actual competition. That's what might have been the British Open or something where he won, but
British Open I've always found very interesting. I'm obviously quite a bit older than you, Drew, a little bit older than you, Viggs. But what was it, about 10 years ago? Tom Watson.
Yeah, the British.
Goes to overtime, basically, at the British Open, way past his age. And for me, Tom Watson was kind of my first big guy in golf for me. You know, he was the first person I noticed in golf because it was, towards the end of Jack's career. And, it was the early 80s when my mom would have it on. Watson was winning U.S. Opens, that great shot at 17 at Pebble Beach, historic shot. Watson was kind of my guy. He's always been kind of my guy. And to see him, basically 25 years later, finish second at a British Open, go to extra holes. So I know everyone's got a Tiger guy. For some reason, Tom Watson was my guy just because of how I grew up.
I don't know if I'm a Tiger guy, but I love watching him golf.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I feel weird about my Phil fandom at this moment based on who he is. But at the same point, like, we always knew who he was, So.
You like the golfer. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if Scotty Scheffler can keep his momentum. But sorry not to make this a golf podcast.
Golf podcast. I'll be right back.
Ekas, if you're still on, well, let's just take Vigo out. Let's just do that. Ekas, if you're still on, what do you think of Tom Watson? For me, he's my top guy. He's my all-time favorite just because of how old I am. I think you're in your 30s or something like that, Ekas. So you're probably definitely a Tiger guy. But what are your thoughts on Watson? I mean, what did you think? Whatever it was when he was just amazing at the British Open. I mean, as a senior player to finish second, I'd be kind of curious to get your thoughts because apparently you haven't gone to bed yet, Ekas. So love him. Oh, good. There you go. Tom Watson's my guy.
He can't fall asleep. He's still on Tiger high.
I'm in my 30s. A lot of people probably don't even know who Tom Watson is, but I literally remember 82 watching live. Yeah, 1982. Long before you were even a thought in your parents' mind, Drew. And Chris was, obviously real young too. That Pebble Beach shot on 17. What do you mean? Watson getting screwed on that shot and the green 18 still makes me mad. I'm trying to remember what happened. I honestly do not remember what happened there, Ekas. I just remember watching the British Open and loving it because it was Tom Watson. This is a senior. He might have been in his 60s, Drew.
Wow.
He was in his 60s, and he finishes second at the British Open going to extra holes. My all-time guy. Obviously, I love Tiger. I think Tiger has been the biggest boon to golf ever. He brought it to the younger crowd. He brought it. I mean, when he's on TV, the ratings are outrageous.
Yeah. Like the practice round shot.
Oh, and then I see that Born in 82. Oh, Born in 82 from N. Johnson there. Turning 50 this year, folks.
All right. We'll have to make a trip out to the favorite after Gopher.
Shot lead, and he hits a great drive. The ball takes a terrible bounce on the green and bounces over the back. Oh, Tom Watson. Yeah, I think I remember that now. Well, it just made me sad because he was my guy growing up. Oh, there's Viggs. We'll let him back in here.
Hi.
I was just hitting up Ekas. Like we started talking golf, and Ekas doesn't go to bed, so I was asking him about his thoughts on Tom Watson, since Tom Watson's my guy. He liked him. He says how he kind of got screwed for that, but really bad luck on the 18th when he had a shot lead. But
Yep, I remember watching that. I love watching the old guys compete in the majors every once in a while.
Because every once in a while they make a difference. It was just special that year because one thing he won was it 2 or 3 British Opens back in his 8-8. It was kind of his course.
Yeah.
Or kind of his thing was doing the British Open and in his 60s to be able to make, or I think he was in his 60s, to be able to make that kind of effect on these young guys. It was just amazing for me. So
yeah, every once in a while there's a course that sets up where like an older guy can kind of hang with it, like Bernard Langer has done well.
And it's not a long course. If it's a good course, you got to be accurate.
Well, it's firm. If the firmness, like I think this Masters is going to be golf podcast because it's going to be wet, so could be tough on the old guys. You're going to have to hit it far this week. I like how Ekus does
Bryson
with
week.
Longer. Well, Bryson's been hurt and stuff, so he's kind of off his game right now. So
shoot,
maybe Brooks.
Yeah,
Major
Brooks
Brooks.
had decent odds. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's big in the majors.
Everything else doesn't matter. Everything
else he doesn't care. He doesn't focus.
No.
He's kind of like a Gopher hockey player sometimes. He just only wants to play in the big games.
Wow.
GPL podcast after dark. Once we get to the third hour, and the third drink, look out.
I must have turned this off here. Oh, probably when I left, but there we go. Overtime. I always like to have that up there. Yeah,
we were running rogue there for a little bit.
Did you guys see Andy Greeter was chirping the Gopher hockey video today?
Mm-mm.
No.
Yeah, the video that we played. We pull up what Andy Greeter said. He made a comment about Minnesota not being a team for all Minnesotans. He said, but you don't, represent the entire state. Bet your fellow semifinalist has taken note of that claim.
What jeepers?
Oh, jeepers, Andy. Andy's just getting back from Cabo or something. Always being the world traveler.
Even like a southern Minnesota guy either.
Yeah.
He's a Metro man.
He's a Metro guy, yeah.
Yeah, but he spent a lot of time in Duluth too, so.
So I posted that video today of the 20th anniversary. I did that music video all those years ago. Somebody's replying, I am shocked to this day they didn't call Hauser for a high stick or even up the penalties in overtime. Remember when they were short earlier in that penalty, Hauser kind of got his arm up, kind of hit the guy as he went around the net. But what a lot of people don't pay attention to is when he goes around the net, the main player hits a skate at the base of the net and falls down. It wasn't Hauser's hit that took him down. It was his skate running into the base of the net that told him to go down. I find that was an interesting little post there.
All I know, Johnson, about the U tickets is that they went to their big donors first on all that stuff. And I'm pretty sure they figured out takers for all the tickets because the plane was full going out to Boston for the Gopher hockey program today. Was it today? Did they fly out today or yesterday?
They went yesterday.
Yesterday? Yeah. But they had a full plane.
Yeah, but
Jess didn't even get on
this
that
morning.
flight.
They were out at Fenway Park today.
That's extra staff. Did the band go with them on that?
Parents flew with them. Parents got on that flight.
That easily fills up a plane.
Yeah. But I think they only get like 400 tickets or 300 tickets, something like that. So they don't have a lot to give out.
No.
I'm sure the nannies got their tickets.
I wonder if even Louis even pays for it.
He
probably,
does.
He's He's got a suite. Probably someone gives it to him in Boston.
No, Lou pays for stuff. Like he donated money for the team area. Like Lou gives back.
Oh, I know. I'm just having fun with it.
What's the next nanny or next lineage in that family? To how close are we for another nanny?
It's a ways.
Nice.
Nico
Yeah.
is like 3.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. Yeah, it was the Louis who played for RPI, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The failed school board run nanny.
I don't remember, but
he ran for the school board, and
okay,
it was ugly.
What about the Lettieri clan?
I don't know if there's any little Letteris yet, because Vinny's still got quite the career going. He's kind of fringe NHLer.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, now that his sticks don't break.
The Ducks fixed that for him.
Yeah.
I asked him
no more CCMs.
Because we used to have the Lettieri
stick counter.
Stick counter.
Oh, yeah.
On the website.
Yeah, I wonder if he is using the same brand or the same kind of stick. I guess I would have to
thought it was
look it up,
funny though.
watch some film.
He thought it was funny, which was all good to me.
It's always a win then.
He's got a good sense of humor. He's a good kid.
Can you believe he scored 20 goals his senior year? That's crazy.
He got so much better as he got older.
It's amazing. Because I remember watching him as a freshman, and like, man, he was one thing, and then he turned into a whole other thing. Because I would think it was my first year really, really around the team, and I'm like, man, geez, he is like the Travis Boyd thing, where it just kind of not exactly the same, but like where it's just like, whoa.
This will make you feel old. I want to say, what year were you born, Drew?
I was 98.
Oh God. So I don't know, Viggs, did you ever go to any Minnesota Strikers games?
I don't know if I went to any, but I know who they are.
Okay.
So I don't know if I ever got down to Met Center to watch them play.
Yeah.
But I remember it being a thing.
Yeah.
Like it was televised or something, I think.
Oh, yes. And obviously, Lettieri is famous for that, actually.
Oh, yeah. Like
his father was the goalie for the Strikers, and before that, partially for the Minnesota Kicks back in the 70s. I actually went to it wasn't MLS. It was indoor soccer championship series at the Met Center. Those are the best 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 7. They lost that game. They could have won the championship that night, and they choked it. I blame Lettieri, the goalie, for that.
Of course.
He's famous now, though, for that stand at the fair. My goodness. And his restaurant, of course, but like.
Yeah.
I've seen Vinny walking around there sometimes in the back.
He started out as an outrageous goalie.
He had the parrot, right? Or the tropical bird or whatever.
For your age, Viggs, you think of like a Jorge Campos for Mexico. How kind of outrageous, out there. I would say that's kind of Tino Lettieri back in the day.
Yep.
And then
very colorful.
He marries a nanny and
kind of like La Tortuga for the Twins.
Okay.
He's a fan favorite. Had some mannerisms. I always love when Tortuga rounds first and he throws back the helmet.
Yeah.
Gonna let
Speaking of baseball,
let the hair flow.
With baseball, the hype video, I liked the KG element, but then the David Ortiz element was a little.
It was funny.
Yeah.
I cut it a little bit. So it was getting a little outlandish. Really long.
Getting a little Tino Lettieri on you.
Yeah. I had this picture. It was like a beer league picture of me on the bench for a Rubes game. And I had like the full hockey hair. And it was like in the heyday of the Rubes. And there was a picture of us.
You had the hair like that for a couple, like at least one Final Five.
Yeah.
Might have been
Miss New Jersey was up there with us.
What was her name?
Julie Robinair.
Julie. Yeah.
Yeah. But I had really long hair, like almost to the shoulders.
Wow.
Yep.
Gotta bring it back.
Some do because they can.
This would just go like this. It would just like be way out here. I could have had the welcome back Cotter fro. It would have been great. It wouldn't.
So Drew, big viewing plans tomorrow? Are you getting together with Pops to watch, or?
No, my Pops is actually in Florida, so I'm gonna.
Man, how Minnesotan is that?
Yeah,
well, no, live down there half the year plus a day, or no?
No. I don't think. I think maybe eventually he wants to do that, but not now. But I don't know. Yeah, I think just here at our little St. Paul abode, and then we'll figure it out from there for Saturday. But I just hope we get ESPNU. I don't know because we have like Sling, so I don't know if we. Pretty sure we get it, but
might want to check out of time.
Check with that.
If not, I'll just go to the bar across the street and catch it. So,
what's the local for you?
Sweeney's.
Oh,
Sweeney's Saloon, right on Dale.
Oh, you're up in my area, old area.
Yep, right over there, right on Cathedral Hill and kind of Cathedral Hill, but.
Yep, I used to live on Arundel up on Cathedral Hill.
Okay.
And I had my haunts up there.
Yeah.
Fabulous Fern was the go-to for me for many, many years. It was a good spot.
Yeah, Sweeney's was the place. The big snowstorm this year. I don't know. I don't remember when that happened, but it's kind of impassable. And we're like, all right, everyone's at work and no one can get anywhere, so we're just gonna go walk over to Sweeney's.
Yeah, get a bucket of beer and some wings, and you're set.
Oh boy, yeah. Sometimes that poor man special at Sweeney's comes in clutch. If you haven't been to Sweeney's, everyone I ever talked to that I'm like, oh yeah, I never knew they lived over in this area, and they're like, oh, Sweeney's, I love that place.
Yeah,
boy, great place. I recommend you go if you haven't. It's very, very fun, very great place.
Yep, that was
wow.
That was the flow.
There you go.
It's not as long as I thought it was.
Well, it might have gotten cut for that weekend or something too, trimmed up. I used to go over to the Jute on Grand Avenue that was Cathedral Hill days for me, right there.
Oh yeah,
when I was frequenting Fabulous Fern.
Me and my roommate went to a Wild game and we walked down the hill to and from the game.
That is my Saint Small tip is to park by the cathedral and walk down. Free parking. I do that for the state boys hockey tournament and for Wild games. Can be a little dicey at this time of year if there's a melt freeze, because that path can get pretty icy.
Yeah.
But one year when they had the Red Bull
the crashed ice,
the crashed ice thing, it was a little crazy over there, but I would still park up there. But good spot. Those are the days, Drew.
If you ever want to come out to Sweeney's, just let me know.
All right.
We'll get a couple.
Screen share, but
there you go. Is that Jim in the background?
Yeah,
that is
Jim's
Jimmy.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well,
oh, how much to get a Final Five polo?
Doing a little dance. So yeah, there you go.
I want one of those Final Five polos that you kind of got across to. Those would be cool. No, there was one of the photos.
You got to volunteer for these things, Drew. Yeah. They were looking for scorers this year at the U. They were short staffed. You know, it's a tough time to find labor.
Very true.
Yeah, that was the stats crew they used to get.
Yeah.
They always
get some sort of swag.
Hey, sell those on eBay now. All that stuff's back.
They used to give us more swag too, because I remember the 2007 Final Five, the very first one I ever covered. Got the WC.
You know what I'd really like?
We always got something.
North Star College Cup polo.
Oh.
Are there any of those? Do you know where those are?
Wow, I didn't know I had a photo of him.
Even though we did just find the trophy. Didn't we determine the location of the trophy?
Nope.
We did.
Wait, there's a couple.
There was something that came out recently.
I have to show this photo real quick. This is of Dan Detman. He was the guy who passed away a couple years ago. One of the best cameramen there is in the business. I didn't realize I had a photo of him.
Wow.
Covering the game. Because he literally, the last couple of years, people have been complaining, well, how come the TV guy can't follow the puck? And people don't realize how good the crew is here in the city.
We are spoiled.
These guys are shooting games for so long. And, he's in his 60s and he's doing spectacular work. And I literally was just going through this. I didn't realize I had a photo of him. Yeah, that's too bad. Bring the thing down. Sorry.
All right. Well, on that note,
it has been a long overtime.
I'm excited for tomorrow.
Mankato still scares me though, Biggs.
I mean, this is the Dragon. Like when we talked about, going in the regional, they don't have a dragon to slay. I feel like it made it easier for them to play like they did. Now that they're playing Mankato, it's like all the juices about wanting to beat Mankato are going to be flowing. And that sometimes gets in the way of the brain juices that tell you how you're supposed to play.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about that conflict.
But the thing is, for me, you might say there's no dragon slaying, but I think they have done some dragon slaying this year. Penn State on the road.
Different dragons, small dragons.
I know, but it builds up. Not winning a regional away from Mariucci in 20 years. They were 0-8.
The players don't know that. Don't know that.
That's
but the players know.
Yeah.
Like
they know losing to Mankato.
God, I mean, do I do this tomorrow? Do I tweet out their record against in-state schools in the last 6 years? Because it's awful.
Better not. You'll piss a lot of people off.
Well,
you used to do that.
It's a fact.
I remember every time those tweets went up.
Yeah, it is a fact. When they play in-state teams, they lose their minds. Like they stop playing the way that they're supposed to play. They forget what gets them there, and they start playing AAA hockey. And it's just like, oh my God, this is not an ego contest. This is a discipline contest.
Well, let's just hope they pull their head out of their ass tomorrow.
It's like sometimes I wish I could play some of these guys in poker because I just know they would just be bluffing with anything. Sometimes you got to realize that a pair of tens is not that good. Okay, there's a lot of hands that beat a pair of tens.
If they can play some semblance of the way they played against Western, they have a great shot.
I still think getting that first goal and just getting a goal is important. Don't?
Well,
don't post their in-state record tomorrow. Maybe I'll wait until like it's almost game time. How's that?
No.
But Jupe, we did see how things played out when they did score a quick goal a couple weeks ago against Michigan.
Yeah, but that was
a different kind of game.
But the thing is,
yeah, definitely. But
when's the last time they scored on Dryden McKay? Do we need Nate for that?
Since before Jack LaFontaine won a Richter.
Holy shit! Are those people? I mean, win or lose tomorrow, how much are the Mankato people going to lose their shit if Dryden McKay walks away with nothing?
I think he wins. I think he wins the Richter.
Yeah.
I hope.
I think so too. I think his record against ranked teams are a lot better than Levi. I think.
Don't be that guy, haha, Johnson.
I'm trying to see if I can figure out Dryden McKay against Minnesota. I don't think they played in.
Did we play the previous?
I don't think they played in 1920.
So it's just the 60 minutes then.
18-19 they played twice and beat the Gophers twice.
One of them might have been the 1-0 game too.
17-18 didn't play each other.
This is gonna be fun doing some editing after this.
Oh boy! You don't have to work tomorrow though.
Dryden wasn't there in 16.
Yeah, it is wild thinking that There's some 25-year-olds on that Mankato roster.
Right?
Like, I've been out of college for 3 years.
Aren't they? Someone figured it out a couple of years ago that they were older than an NHL team.
The Devils, I think.
Yes.
It's wild.
They're
I just turned 24, and I've been out of college for 3 years.
I think Dryden McKay's only played the Gophers once. So, for whatever that's worth, the Gophers have never scored on Dryden McKay.
Let's fucking go. Come on.
I think. Really? They've only played him once in the 4 years?
I'd love to I wish I had the time to go back and see if any of the current Gophers have scored on Dryden McKay at any point in their lives.
Oh, that's a job. That's a Nate job. Nate is great for that.
Well, I don't
Nate's
think
gonna be there tomorrow.
I don't know if there's anybody who's playing in the USHL for the Gophers in
taking the
27-18.
Or does he walk? I mean,
No, he drives. He's only 4 hours away.
Yeah, he's driving up.
Okay, Nate doesn't drive anywhere.
Okay, good point.
He's taking the bus. He's taking the train. He's not driving his own vehicle. Does he have his own vehicle?
He did when he was here. I don't know if he's got one out there.
He might drive more than I do. I don't drive at all.
Boy, if some people have a hard time parking in Minneapolis, man, could you imagine parking in New Jersey, New York?
That's why you need that the Boston or the car parks itself.
The car parks itself.
The car parks itself in Harvard Yard.
Car parks itself. Car. Don't worry about it. It's car parks itself.
I love Bob mispronouncing Worcester multiple times.
Worcester?
He's like Worcester, and I know I pronounced
He
that
wasn't
wrong.
a good mood today. He was pretty funny.
All the coaches were pretty loose. It was great.
So bitter about David Ortiz. That was great.
That was hilarious.
It's fake bitterness too, That's the best kind of bitter. Fake bitterness.
He's like, oh, you Minnesota people, you get that, right? You understand what I mean.
So is when Bob's talking about social media, is he talking about us?
I don't know. I sometimes wonder if it's Facebook comments. Because the Facebook comments for Gopher hockey is
I hope Bob doesn't read any of those.
Oh my god,
that's got to be bad.
Worst. That is really bad for the U account.
Because I don't know if Shelly is on Twitter. Because that's probably his main source of
his
social
daughter
media.
Is.
Okay.
His daughter actually retweeted something that I liked or whatever the other day. And I was like, I didn't even know she was following me.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I saw that name pop up for the first time I think last week or something.
It was just this last week. I want to say I retweeted something about, the whole situation and how great a job he's doing. And people talk about Hastings winning the arena, the Penrose 2 years in a row. I was kind of surprised.
I thought Bob.
If anyone's done a better job than Bob Motzko, please. It's not Hastings. I'm sorry, it's just not.
Right.
I mean, no.
Hastings is coaching adults.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he's coaching a team that's adults. Bob has got a much tougher job right now than anyone probably in college hockey. Maybe Mel Pearson has a tougher
and the
job.
Fact that he's talking about social media shows how much it is a big deal with Minnesota.
Yeah.
Social media isn't a factor in Mike Hastings' life at all.
And it wasn't a factor for Bob when he was at St. Cloud either.
Nope.
He is kind of blown away. He is blown away about what it's like being the coach at Minnesota and all the attention and the media. And I'm like, what bubble were you living in where you didn't know that was there?
Well, probably because St. Cloud and Mankato, they all are focusing either on other NCHC teams or their vitriol in Minnesota.
Right.
They're not focusing it on their own team. And then Minnesota, it's like, well, where do we run? We suck against the rest of the state. So
in Minnesota has the fans that hate the fans, not anyone watching us, that watch the Gophers.
Yeah.
We talked about this with Kinger and OT. Like there are people who watch the Gophers to see them fail.
True.
Like me with the Vikings.
Like Jupe with the Vikings too. Jupe, you like to use the GPL account for bad? Too often. Truth.
Don't let him tweet now. That's the problem.
Okay, I'm a recovering Vikings fan. 98 killed me.
I was there for that in person.
Or I guess it would have been 99, but then 41 Donuts sealed it. 41 Donuts sealed it for me. Drew was 3.
See, 98, I was almost a full year around the sun. Almost a full year.
You know what I did that day, the 41 donut? I ran 20 miles outside. At halftime,
Better choice to me watching that because I was like, "What?"
At halftime, I put on the headphones and I listened to Paul Allen. I'm guessing, and I ran because I was training for a marathon, and that was the day I had to do my longest run. It's like I'd been training on a treadmill because I was a 300-pound offensive lineman in college, and after I was done playing, I was like, okay, I gotta lose this weight. And my Marine Naval Academy buddy talked me into running a marathon in like May or something like that, or April. Oh boy. Jupe making mistakes. I love it. And so I had to train for this marathon.
Make sure you'll stay awake for the game tomorrow, Jupe. It's a long ways away.
I'm gonna have to, what time was it? 2:36 into it. Jupe making mistakes.
Jupe making mistakes.
I'm writing this one down.
That's gonna be in the best of. But anyway, I decided I had to go do my training run that day, and I listened to the second half on the radio, and it was just like so painful. It's like it just kind of distanced myself as a Viking fan. Like I still watch them and all that stuff.
You know, I'm exactly the same.
I'm not invested.
98 killed me. I think it was 2001. The 41 donut. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I will cheer for them, but like in 2009, when Brett Favre threw the interception, I wasn't devastated. I couldn't invest that kind of thing anymore. I would love for them to win a Super Bowl. I would be happy as anyone else. I just couldn't invest anymore. And maybe even some of that happened to me with the Gophers in 2000, was it 5 or 6? Holy Cross. I will admit, I literally sat back on my couch and I just went, you got to be fucking kidding me. That's how it was for me.
Yeah, that 09 game was the peak of an 11-year-old me's Vikings fandom. And I'm definitely... I enjoyed the miracle.
How much did that hurt?
It was,
even as a young kid.
For a middle schooler, I was like, oh, I don't know what to do with this. Like how bad I feel for like a team that I want, because I was like, oh, I should have a champ. I want a championship, and I was like, this is as close as I'm gonna get. I'm like, oh no, it's never gonna happen, because it's like you're a little kid.
Saturday, enjoy Saturday.
Yeah. Oh. It was bad.
I mean,
I hope they do a TCF Bank Stadium thing. But the thing is, do they want to invite a ton of people down to the U after they had issues back in 03 and 02 and 03? I mean, they had to send out an email in 2014.
I don't know.
Don't riot, people.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we've moved past that a little bit.
I would love to go down there and
cover. I'm definitely not as invested as I was 20 years ago,
but it's also different though, Veeks, because we covered the team,
right?
Yeah,
like if I didn't,
working at the Daily it kicked the fan out of me. Really did.
It does kind of, doesn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Has this helped though, Drew? That you've been away from it and not at the arena, not seeing the people, seeing. I mean, did you jump up and cheer when Ben Myers scored in overtime? I did, and that was a great feeling. I really loved that feeling again.
It was cool to see, like, rooting for the person and, like, kind of rooting for how good of a player I think he is. But still, I don't know if it's, like, helped, though, either. I think because because I'd still rather be at the rink and kind of just watching as like, all right, let's see the other people. Let's see all these, like, the joy that's kind of causing all these people. So
I just smiled and started writing in my notebook, like moments, moments of clips to go back.
That's Molesky. That's Molesky wearing off on you.
I want to see these guys do well. Like, it's more fun when they do well.
Yes,
but I'm not the fan anymore. Like, it's just.
I just think for me, it's helped me become a fan again. This is a fan website. I think it has actually helped me kind of get more invested again. And I think that helps me in the long run.
Maybe my stint at the Athletic changed me.
You didn't cheer, Viggs? You didn't.
How did my stint at the Athletic changed me?
Right. How my stint at the Athletic changed me is like when I was in high school, like my dream job was to be like the college hockey writer for Sports Illustrated. Like, I wanted to be the SI guy who covered every big game, and like once a month I got to write something about that, and that was a career. Like, that was what I really was like. That's what I wanted to do. Now SI's gone to crap. Like, it's clickbait basically. Like, there's still a couple people that write for them that I respect, but it's whatever.
They used to be so good, Viggs. They used to be good.
But I still have this thought in my mind. Jess Myers isn't going to write forever, or maybe something else happens, or maybe the Athletic chooses to reinvest in college hockey or something. Who knows? But there's a journalist perspective that can do it, and then there's like what Gopher Puck Live is for our diehards, which is fun. I love the podcast. I love the message board. I love the enthusiasm. But like, that's not a career kind of thing. It's a hobby.
No. It's always been a hobby for me.
Yeah. And
I mean, it literally turned into a hobby in 2003 when I literally just created a temporary message board when Pride on Ice went down, just to help out.
And it's a fun part of the life. I love Wednesday nights that turn into Thursdays. Love it.
Absolutely right.
I absolutely love it. It's so much fun.
But I want to say, Viggs, though, I think this successful team has helped me personally, because I think I had become very detached from.
Definitely, you have different eyes when they're not successful and no one's invested. Seeing guys like Brock Faber and Ben Myers, so much fun to be around.
Can you enjoy? Will you be able to enjoy the game tomorrow? Will you?
Oh yeah,
cheer if they win.
I don't know if I'll cheer.
They score a goal. I mean, come on. I was jumping up and down. My girlfriend looked at me like, who the hell is this?
Here's the thing that I love. My 9-year-old will get into the game and he'll cheer and jump up and down. And that makes me smile.
That might be, yes, I think that would help actually.
Like that's therapeutic for me. As Ryan says, this is a therapy session. Seeing your 9-year-old care and like get invested. I'd rather him get invested in Gopher hockey than the Vikings.
Yes.
Like he was like so into the Minneapolis Miracle thing. Like he loved that, but I'd rather have that reaction happen this weekend for something for me.
I think for me though, it's just the success of the team has helped me get reinvested, gotten me more excited about this podcast.
Look at all those website changes that are happening.
No, seriously.
Things are happening.
It's not a joke. I've been excited to do that kind of work, making changes. I literally did the video for today and the audio for the intro to the podcast after work today.
Yeah.
So, and I've been more excited because, Viggs, I'm guessing at the end of the season, these last 5 years even. Oh, I got another podcast. But I think each year when the team's gotten better, I've gotten more excited about the podcast. Where I get to the end of the season and it's like, oh, thank God it's done. Now I'm already thinking about next season. Even though
I'm thinking about Tampa Bay already. So, it's like,
hey, let's go.
Like, I want to be there for that. This year was
Yeah.
just not going to happen. Like 7 and 9-year-old, we just went to the Black Hills for 5 days. I'm going to San Diego here in 2 weeks.
Wait
I
until
was
you
not
take
going to be
the-
able to go again this weekend.
Wait till you take the freight elevator up to the press box.
Hopefully, I don't take the stairs like I did at Soldier Field. Soldier Field is like, oh, I'll take the stairs. Where am I?
That's a game I was at.
Yeah.
I went to that game with my dad.
The Hockey City Classic. You know,
Yeah.
I saw Mario and the Don hanging out, and I ended up in
Mario
some weird-
liked my tweet today.
Mm.
Mario liked the video tweet, the music video tweet I put out.
If it wasn't for how horribly fans treated Tony, Mario would have been a Gopher. He was a Gopher fan from birth. Like, his family had seats right in front of me, and so I saw him grow up. And he loved Gopher hockey. But the way the fans treated Tony, he was just like, I don't want that. And Don's like, don't do it.
But was Don part of that? By putting Tony in situations
No.
he shouldn't have been? I don't know. I'm just
No.
throwing it out there.
No. I don't think so.
He would have been a great Gopher. Good player.
Was a good player. Would have helped if he had started college hockey at the age of 20, though. That's key, man. Like, just the way the game is these days. It's really hard to be 18 and play in this league. So that's the big difference.
Steve, this is what happens when I'm drinking. Steve's in Boston, so it's 1-17 for him. Yep, Ryan K's got it. Jupe is drinking. That's why we're still going.
Yeah. And we got Drew. It helps to have a trio.
If you wouldn't have posted it in the chat, Drew, I wouldn't have known it, and I wouldn't have thrown it out. But it's always fun to just kind of bring you on just to BS with us. I love BS with you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Yeah. So if you're doing anything tomorrow night out of the blue, feel free. Send me a text. I'll
I
jump
may
on.
just do it. Just go live and
Why not? We can hop on.
I'm 50-50 depending on if I let my kid watch the whole game. So
if you let your kid watch the whole game,
yeah,
you wouldn't take that away from your child.
I don't know.
That's a PSA. That's the advertisement the Gophers need to put out there on TV. You wouldn't let your child not watch this whole game, would you?
He's 9. It's tough. He's got school on Friday.
30 minutes into overtime, the lounge shut down, and I got back to my room, and you're still here. Very cool.
Two thumbs up, Steve.
And Steve, thanks for coming to the Pride on Ice GPL reunion skate. It was nice to see you there. Thanks for coming.
And I've got a 1915 that I created. I know part of it's
Jupe was
let
on
the kid
fire.
watch, but
Jupe was drunk.
We'll see. It'll be a game time decision. Kind of depends how the game starts too, I guess.
Come on, you gotta let the kid watch it.
And he might not want to.
You know what? Because you know what? He's gonna come back years later and say, "My dad let me stay up for this game. This is the game my dad let me stay up for."
Maybe. My son is really into Formula One racing, and he is very focused on that right now.
Yeah. There's a race Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Focus on Gopher hockey.
Oh, Saturday. It's 1 a.m.
They're in Melbourne. They're in Melbourne.
It's 1 a.m. on Saturday night.
Yeah. They're in Melbourne this weekend. So,
okay,
can Max Verstappen get it going? Who knows?
2 in a row.
We did golf earlier. I want to do soccer. What do you think of the draw for Team USA Bigs?
I think it's a great draw.
That's actually a great draw.
I don't. Iran could be difficult, and there'll be some interesting storylines to go with that. I think England is an awesome. England's an awesome matchup.
Losing, yeah, they're good, but
they're good, but it's England's
beatable.
Historically an underachieving world stage team. I can't really tell you exactly how well they've done in the World Cup, but I feel like they've underachieved their place in the world of soccer standings, perception. They're a little bit like Gopher hockey for the last 20 years.
Ooh, another blow. There we go.
Did you watch?
He's on fire.
I watched highlights of the draw. I didn't watch the actual draw. I think I was in the Black Hills still, maybe.
Oh, that's right. How did that go?
It was good. It was good. A lot of driving. We did 7 audiobooks during the trip.
Did you happen to catch Mount Rushmore for the lighting ceremony?
No.
Okay. I was just curious.
No. Mount Rushmore is interesting, and we did the hike thing around it and all that, and read all the stuff about the president.
Like a little mile walk in front.
Yeah.
Of stuff. Yeah,
and we talked. They have those little placards, educational all the way for my kids. Meanwhile, they're all saying, "I want to get back to my iPad and watch DuckTales and Bluey," but we forced them to it.
I had one daughter like that, and they had the other one who loved it.
Yeah, they love it, and then they check it off, and they're ready to move on. So they're excited for about 5 minutes, and we're there for an hour. So
next trip, Yellowstone Glacier.
Yep, Yellowstone's going to be on the list. Because that's
don't forget Glacier. Glacier is spectacular.
Yeah, Badlands cooler than I expected. I think.
Yes.
Really, special part of land. So, and then the buffalo herd at Custer is cool. I saw buffalo jumping fences, which was funny. They like crouch down like a cat, and then they jump over the fence.
No way!
It's cool to see. And then you see the buffalo running. It's fun.
And you stay out of the way.
Right.
Yeah. Ooh.
Drew, I highly recommend a drive out west.
Yeah.
Get your car and go.
All right. I'll have to do it sometime.
Well,
one thing I'm meaning to do this summer, I haven't been up to the Boundary Waters before. So I'm going to go. I'm going to go up there. I want to go up like the Gunflint Trail and stay like at the very end of it at that like campsite up there. I don't know. I've looked it up. Kind of want to just do it.
They have cabins and stuff you can go to if you're not super outdoorsy. I don't know if you're outdoorsy or not, but like if you're not super outdoorsy, like you'd like a bathroom and like a bed, they do have cabins up there you can get to, which is worth it. So.
And I want to do this. I haven't done it yet. I want to go to Yellowstone via Highway 212. Highway 212 starts in Edina. You know what's up?
It's already a bad start.
Little town on the west side with a dream.
Yep. Highway 212 starts in Edina, ends in Yellowstone National Park. Highway 212 is the Yellowstone Highway. That is one of my kind of moments I want to try is drive 212.
Go end to
Yellowstone. Not go the interstate, head out 212. Because, well, for one thing, 212 goes through Beartooth Pass just outside of Yellowstone, which I hear is amazing. I just think it's kind of a cool thing. So any drive out west is great. Don't be afraid to drive, people. A lot of the younger generation, I want to fly. Drive. Viggs, you just did it. You had kids. It sucked, but you see
audiobooks.
So much.
Audiobooks for kids. If their parents listening, 24 people on here have young kids. Seriously, get some audiobooks and you'll be fine. You don't have to put them on screens where they're watching cartoons the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
You listen to audiobook. We listened to Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, and then we had some other ones that were interesting. There's this My Life as a Cactus about this girl who's born with no arms who goes to Arizona and like discovers her family. It's great. This new kid about this black kid who goes to this boarding school type thing. It's cool. Good books. Good for the kids. Good discussion points along the way.
So we got golf covered tonight. We got travel. A little bit of soccer. And hockey as well.
Hockey as well.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that.
Gopher Puck Live.
It's overtime. We're allowed to do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah. Oh, I got to show you this one thing too, because there was this one thing last week that I'm going to share. I'm going to try and share my screen and see if I can do it.
Oh, Drew's going to use technology. I like it.
Let's see here.
I love this StreamYard thing. By the way, I was trying to mess around with OBS today, Viggs, and try to.
Oh, are you gonna give me a tutorial on how to fix it to work? It's complicated, isn't it?
It's not bad. It's just too delayed.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
I have to change my settings, and I'd have to restart Chrome, and it would log me out of here. So there's this tweet that my uncle sent me. Big Gopher
America's
hockey
youth,
fan.
right there, folks.
Nah, big Gopher hockey fan though. Don Bizdock. He's my uncle. He's a great guy, and he watched Bucci's interview with Brock Faber, and he tweets out, he's like, "Is that Drew? Is that you or Brock Faber?" And it honestly, with when my glasses are on, it looks just like me. Super grateful.
Have you changed your glasses recently?
I did in like December. These are like my blue
You
light
had
glasses.
They're a little rounder now, aren't they?
Yeah, these are like blue light glasses, and I took them off just because they reflect my screen. And I have ones that are kind of more square and rounder now, and the old ones were kind of like bigger and rectangular. And I just needed some new ones. So
I literally have glasses for the first time in about 25 years, which I use in this photo here. Because my previous glasses were from. Wait, when were you born? 98?
98.
My glasses previously were from 1998.
Wow.
I hadn't updated them because I've been a total contact lens person.
Yeah.
So my glasses are as old as you. Previous.
Those glasses are getting up there.
Trying to find this Bucci Faber thing.
I can send you the link to the tweet here.
Are you sure it's not Owen Power? Or is this the Faber scissors thing?
It might be
I think it's
from the regional.
Because during the regional, he did one with Brock where he calls them scissors.
Maybe.
Because that would be older.
And anyone who bitches about Buccigross needs to just shut up. I'm sorry. Yes, he might not know all the hockey and whatever, but nobody on the national level is a bigger proponent for college hockey than Buccigross. So people just need to shut the fuck up. Sorry. I'm just going to say it. Shut the fuck up. It's overtime. I can swear.
Yeah, you can do that.
Plus, I'm drunk. Not as drunk as I was during that Alaska Anchorage live broadcast we did via Mixler. I want to say it was Mixler, the audio thing. Look at them both on their computers trying to figure it out.
I think I got it figured out for Drew.
Oh, there we go. Oh, look at that. Let's go full screen.
That Drew Cove?
Brock Faber scissors. Did I invent that?
You did. You did invent it.
Like it's not exact.
The T-shirt idea. If you come back to Minnesota next year, NIL, you and me, make maybe a T-shirt.
Love it. Love it.
Let's talk about
it. Deal.
NHL player that LA Kings fans would say, yeah, he kind of reminds me of him. What about you?
So are we talking
Like a current NHL player that maybe you feel like people would remind you of that you play like?
I think Charlie McAvoy.
Like that.
And I get a lot of talk that I look like him a little bit too. So
he's one of my favorite players. So now you're one of my favorite players too.
Good.
What's been the best part about being a Gopher?
There's playing at Mariucci every Friday, Saturday. It's playing in front of those fans, the student section. It's from the place I grew up, Minnesota. Obviously, been a dream to be a Gopher, and it's as special as it gets for sure.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Brock Faber scissors. Did I invent that?
You did. You did.
Sorry, I did the
that's funny.
You should have been wearing glasses.
I know, yeah. It's just hard with the blue light thing. It just reflects the screen, and it's.
Oh yeah, totally get it. Totally get it.
But, yeah, no.
GPL podcast. Is that because I'm drinking, Johnson?
Yes, it is.
Yes, the answer is yes to that question.
Yeah, I love it. I also love it how the players don't even try the 3M thing. None of them do. It's just married to me.
Brian's gritting his teeth.
I work for 3M and I don't do it.
I mean, yeah, I think half my family's worked for 3M, but it's funny. It's just it's just kind of funny. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, they today. But today, today, it's just you just don't even try.
Mariucci.
I guess if you grow up with it, it's still like I get they probably grew up with it like I did. It's like it still hasn't
That's
been three
true.
man for as long as it's been Mariucci.
I'm just kind of more anti change name to some kind of corporate thing.
Yeah.
Mariucci was Mariucci, not before his 3M at Mariucci. Whatever. I hate that long damn name thing. I think it's different when you originally have a stadium, TCF Bank Stadium.
It's never been something. It's always been
it's not like when they tried to do the Metrodome tried to do like something field, and I'm like,
Mall
no.
of America Field.
Yeah, it's
That's what it was, and they repainted the poles on the side purple. That was ugly.
Yeah, and it's same thing with
They
Target.
disgraced my favorite.
Target Center, Target Field work because that's what they were originally. It's
Excel Energy Center.
Yes, it's when you change it that's what throws people off.
It's when you name it with someone who's connected with the institution.
Mm-hmm. Someone beloved, obviously. Yeah.
Apparently people like drunk Jupe.
Maybe they just like seeing Minnesota in the Frozen Four too. That makes it more fun.
Maybe
it's more fun to talk about Gopher hockey. I mean, if they would have lost, if they would have lost in the regional, this podcast would not have been as much fun.
Nope.
And it wouldn't have even been happening because we wouldn't do a show till after the Frozen Four.
Right.
Oh, it is 12:30. You guys need to go to bed.
I gotta call it.
Yeah, see, I gotta go to work tomorrow. I don't know about you guys, but
I gotta come back here to this desk.
Tomorrow off.
So it's a short commute. I do have to get my kids to school in the morning though, so I gotta get to sleep.
I get the drive to St. Louis Park, so we'll see about that.
Empty nester, kids gone, all by myself. I could sleep in.
You could do a bottle chug right now, Jupe. You could finish that thing.
He thought about it.
That'd be a lot for Jupe to bottle chug. Oh, Ryan K. No,
I can't. You think
tomorrow night? Save the rest for tomorrow night. If you do the live show, then you could try it. If they win tomorrow night, I'll do a little bottle chug with you tomorrow night on the live stream.
I'm holding you guys to that.
Hey, Drew, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for the last minute. It's been fun. Yeah. Hey, sometimes I'll throw comments in.
I like to make fun of the MNCAA for all their everyone seems to like broadcast from a cave.
Yeah.
Or a closet.
No, I did it for my car. Well, because
trivia
my
night.
Wednesday nights used to be trivia night. I did trivia at Bauhaus. So I was doing trivia at Bauhaus, and I had in between set halves. I would go to the car, record the 15-minute segment, and then go back to trivia. Because that was the time when our friend the Puck Scribe over at St. Cloud guy, Nick Maxon, would have to record. So it was kind of a first come first serve sign up, and I was like, I'll make it work with trivia night.
Just imagine if we had that when Biggs was in the Honda.
Drew, do you remember that at all? I used to do the GPL podcast from the Honda Civic. That was 9 years ago. 8 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No.
Long time.
Yep.
Steve, go to bed. It's the one
right.
where you're at.
I got to go to bed. I mean, it's fun.
Guys.
It's fun. It's fun to drink and reminisce and.
Yeah, no. Thanks for having me on. It's been fun.
Say goodbye to everybody. Thanks, guys. We still got 19 people. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.